validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. Uh, where we at today? Friday? Friday, that's where we're at. I know we had some 4th of July entertainment for you guys. You guys are listening to some music, doing some grilling, fireworks. I worked. I got some stuff done that needed to get done, and then I said, "Man, I'm going to take me a nap and get me some rest." So, almost on time today, about 7 minutes late. That's all right though. We do not let the sun rise without going live, but we don't always start on time, and that's why we ask you guys to like and subscribe, and then mash those reaction buttons and hit the notification button so that you know exactly what time we go live. Then after the show, you can go and take a look at the membership, see what we got going on with the membership. Um, since I'm getting a lot of work done, I'm trying to schedule getting a lot of the membership information in there over this weekend for the next couple of weeks, and try to capitalize on that so that I can make sure that all of the older releases we're catching up on, and then all the new releases we're getting got and taken care of. But I did make sure that today that I got Monday's show set up and ready to go. That was a lot of information because I am covering the nuclear energy, I am covering the firearms, and I am covering the housing topics. So that was a lot of information. that I had to piece together in order for us to have the capabilities to tackle all the stuff we're going to be talking about on how this stuff really impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. So we're going to be doing that because that's one of the first things we do when we have our Monday show that's about business and politics. Steven says, I'm watching you live from work myself. Bro, can't help it. We got to make ends. I did get a chance to respond to your message. It took me longer than I wanted to. But when we were talking about the 32-hour a week discussion, and you were saying that a lot of employees might cut people back to work because you are familiar with 1 hour less than the mandatory full time to keep people from going into overtime. And in my response to you, I had mentioned how employers recognizing that we have that 1 hour paid time off for our breaks, clock out for 15-minute breaks, two 15s and a 30 unpaid breaks. If you're scheduled for an 8 hour shift, you get paid for seven. So if you're supposed to work 40 hours a week over the course of 5 days, you would likely only get 35 hours. Well, if you look at the same math, if you're supposed to be working 32 hours a week, which is likely what what's the math on that? Um Less that's not even eight full because how do you split that up? That's like 6 hours and 6 hours and 15 minutes a week or 6.5 hours. No, 6.5 hours a day is pretty much what it would be to get to 32 for 5 day week because you would have 6 times 5 is 30 plus the 2 hours divided between 4 days. So roughly somewhere in that area. But if they take that mandatory 1 hour break out, then out of your because it's supposed to be 15 minutes out of every 2.5 to 3 hours, 30-minute break after 4 hours, and then you basically end up with a 1 hour out of eight. So if you had 4 to 6, you'd likely have at least a half hour out of that. So out of every 6 hours that you work, you'd be working 5.5 hours. And I would suspect that they would have you working somewhere between 27 hours and 27.5 hours and 28 hours a week to keep you from going into overtime, since 32 hours would be the new cap. That's what I would see. That would be my observation on that. And I believe that with so much extra time off from work, that a lot of people would just lean towards getting a second job just because they have extra time, not just because they need money. Because if you're capped out at 28 hours a week, where you're likely only going to work 3 days a week, you've got 4 more days out of the week where you can get a whole another full-time job if 32 hours is the max. Where everybody would be getting still like 60 hours a week between two jobs, making the same quantity of money they would have made working 40 hours a week on two jobs. So they'd be working what 20 hours a week less to make just the same amount of money, but they'd still be working day in and day out. So that's probably uh, the only change that we would see with the work hours. Um, Today we're going to be talking about future proofing your life, but one of the things we also cover, because we cover Tuesday, we talk about ways to make, save, and invest money. Wednesdays we discuss different countries around the world that we can invest and live in. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday we talk about self improvement, personal development, relationships, negotiations, socialization, networking, building your brand, and then raises, promotions, retirement, forced retirement, severance packages, and termination. And then we give you guys a lot of information about building your 20 or 30-year plan, figuring out where you want to be at, and then reverse engineering how you're going to get there. And then Sundays, we also talk about the questions and comments from the fans. We had a few, we had a few of our old school guys come through. Some of our Gen ones from over a year ago come through yesterday, probably because they're all out of school. So they came through in full effect late last night during the show. So special shout out to those guys. Um, Nevertheless, uh, there is a lot of I know when I was at the grocery store, there's a lot of people just wasting money on the entertainment aspect of this, and I understand that you can't grind at the gravel stone every day of the week for your entire life. And I completely understand that. But I also understand, why am I at the grocery store buying hundreds of dollars of hot dogs and burgers and stuff to feed a bunch of other people? If this isn't a business expense that we're writing off right now, why would I be buying? And then, like Father's Day, I'd be out there cooking all this stuff for these people to entertain these people so that they can come over and um, enjoy my free food. That's what I was thinking while I was watching people shopping for Fourth of July. Was, what are y'all doing this for? What are y'all doing this for? Why are you spending hundreds of dollars on fireworks? Then you've got a mess to clean up. You're spending hundreds of dollars on food. Then you got a mess to clean up for people who are not putting money into it. Now, it would be different if we had like a community fireworks scenario where everybody put up like $20 and the number of people came in and we built up like $800 or whatever, and there was enough for everybody to get something out of it, where the person hosting it isn't funding the whole thing. But what I was looking at today, it's like the host is funding the whole thing and everybody's showing up for free food and a free show, because fireworks aren't cheap. And I'm thinking, man, that's just a waste of money. It's just a waste of money. I've gained a whole new mentality towards everything that we used to look at as merely entertainment, because, while I'm not saying that it's not worth having fun, I'm not saying that it's not worth going out there and enjoying yourselves. But I also have to say that you got to look at your net worth before you do that. Uh, because if you're robbing Peter to pay Paul or living paycheck to paycheck, and you're going to spend extra money out of your house that you don't have so that you can go and enjoy a holiday, you did yourself a better justice saving that money and taking your ass to sleep for that holiday, and then wake up rested on your next work day. I think that would have did you a better justice and saved you some money. Steven says fireworks are free my way, if you go and watch them at several spots in the city. Right, because somebody is paying for all of those fireworks, and because a lot of the fireworks that are being shot in the sky can be observed by any one individual area of those fireworks, the one person that paid $300 for fireworks is putting on a show for the whole neighborhood. But the whole neighborhood isn't giving that person $20 so that he can buy $300 or $400 worth of fireworks and launch the fireworks on everybody else's behalf. So it's not a collective situation. You have one person seeking external validation, buying a bunch of fireworks to entertain the neighborhood so that the neighborhood can go over to that person's house, so that that person can have a reputation of being the person that has the good light show for Christmas, the best Halloween setup in their house for Halloween, the most decorative Easter house, the best spot to go for Veterans Day, Labor Day, Juneteenth, Cinco de Mayo, Fourth of July. So this person is popular because he or she would be expelling all of their financial resources to bait in other people's attention. Now, if he can afford it, he can afford it, but the cost, the return on the investment of the cost is what I refer to as, like, I have learned that that is not necessary, because, like you said, if I wanted to go to fireworks and I wanted to take my family to go fireworks, we can get in the car and drive somewhere where we can watch it for free instead of paying out of pocket to go get it. He said, socializing is important. However, it is, however, this year I'm solo. Uh, got two big pieces of chicken and some Turner's iced tea. I got the Arizona green tea. I splurged because normally I got a bottle of water and coffee. I got some Arizona green tea and some ginger ale. It's in there. You got that after work, and then a computer uh, to work and catch up on, your work caught up on for the Fourth of July. Well, of course. Well, of course. And that's what I was doing. I was out there. I grabbed me some stuff, and that this is like when I was at the grocery store. I looked and I was like, man, I could grab me a case of beer. And then I thought of all of the different stocks that will cost the same price as each bottle of beer in a case. And then I said, well, look, I'll get me some Arizona tea. I'll grab me a case of the ginger ale. I've already got seven cases of water. That's it. I don't need nothing else. I don't need nothing else. So something that's not water, that's all I needed. So I left the beer on the shelf. Um, and ironically, this is one of the wildest parts. With all of the inflation, with all of the stuff that's going on, I was sitting over here calculating everything I had put into the cart. I was $50 less than what I thought I had in the cart. So I went there thinking I was going to spend more money than what I spent, and I was like, "Damn, this came back way cheaper than what I thought it was going to be." I could have went back and went and grabbed the case, but I said, "Nah, I'm going to stop while I'm ahead and take my ass home." Uh, but yeah, it's one of those things that it's a learning process because growing up, we always bought what we wanted. As adults, we worked harder to buy what we wanted because what we desired started to become more expensive. The older you get, the more you have to break yourself out of that habit. You have to think to yourself, you know, what is the value that I get from this? And if there isn't long-term value or long-term satisfaction out of this, then it is just an impulse buy for gratification, instant gratification. And instant gratification is gone the moment after you do it. So if you bought a case of beer for the sake of having a case of beer and drinking a case of beer, when the case is gone, the joy or dopamine hit that you get from drinking that one case of beer is that's it. And the faster you drink it, the faster that short-term gratification is over. And then unless you're going to spend even more money on trying to replenish your supply, the moment has come and gone. But a 24 case of Arizona tea will, in moderation, should at least last me a week. He said, "How do you feel about marijuana stocks, and is that business publicly traded?" Yes, marijuana stocks is publicly traded. I don't know where. I have not found all of the. I haven't found many stocks that I can access trading it the way we trade it because I stopped looking because at the time. So marijuana is a booming business. It really is, especially legalized marijuana. Illegalized marijuana is a booming business, but we kind of can't invest in that legally. But the legalized marijuana is a booming business. After they legalized it, they've got the distribution centers, they've got the grow fields, everything to that effect. They have stocks for them. And what I'll do after the show is I will find all of the stocks that are related to marijuana, and then I'll find the tickers for them, and then I'll try to send them to you in a membership. Uh, I don't know what the ups and downs are of the marijuana stocks right now. And one of the reasons is because marijuana just got legalized, what, 3 years ago, 2, 3 years ago. So it's not a 25-year company. It's not a 50-year company. It's not a blue chip company. It's new to the game. So as long as the laws stay the way they are, marijuana will continue to get better in the stock market. It is still going to be a growth stock, though. It's not going to be a dividend stock, to my knowledge. I have not heard of a marijuana dividend stock. So it'll be a growth stock that you can buy. And if you're looking into getting a growth stock, any growth stock, whether it's marijuana, Netflix, Tesla, any growth stock, SpaceX, Trump coin, whatever you want to get, any kind of growth stock, right? Dogecoin, any kind of growth stock. The only issue I have with that for a startup investor is two things. If you're in the bottom 25 percentile or if you're in the bottom 50, I'm just going to go ahead and say if you're in the bottom 50, but more so if you're in the bottom 25 percentile, because you need every dollar that you have. And every dollar that you don't use, you're investing in this brokerage account. The dividends that you get back will compel you to at least keep your money there, if not reinvest the dividends that you get back. And the problem that I have with a growth stock is that a growth stock for a startup investor is going to discourage them from staying involved in the investment because you have to sell the stock to get a profit. And when you watch it go up, you're excited. And when you watch it go down, you get disappointed. When you're chasing the dividends, When it goes up, you get excited twice because when it goes down, you're going to get excited that you can buy in cheaper than what it was when it went up. But no matter whether or not it's up or down, as long as the company's doors are still open, you get paid. And when you're getting paid for your money sitting there, that motivates you to build yourself up. So beyond that dynamic of self motivation, changing your tactics to invest in your future, looking more towards successful paying stocks that are going to give you more of a bump to like the Erie stock. That's a dividend paying stock that the dividends gains value year over year. They increase the value of their dividends year over year. It's a good company to have in your portfolio. And you can grab a marijuana stock and put that into your portfolio. I mean, fuck, if I was already established at a $1 million portfolio, yeah, I'd throw some marijuana in there. But my concern is that if you don't have a $10,000 portfolio that's paying you $1,500 a year, then you need to really be focusing on growing your portfolio as fast as possible. And that requires you to select dividend paying stocks, preferably dividend paying stocks is paying high yields percentages so that you can grow your portfolio faster during the volatility of the market. And then when the market starts to stabilize, and the value of those real estate investment trusts and BDCs starts going up, then you can start rebalancing everything into the other stuff because you'll be locked in to the more volatile price. Because even though the REITs and BDCs are at like 22% right now, some of them at least, right now, maybe in 3 years, it might go back down to 15%. If it goes back down to 15%, the ones that you bought when it was volatile at 22%, you keep those for life as long as you don't sell those shares. So that locks you in on that high value. And then instead of selling the stocks, all you got to do is just put your money somewhere else and then rebalance the dividends from those REITs and BDCs into the other stocks. Now, if you add more stocks to your portfolio, that's fine. You can add more. It dilutes your dividend return, but it does allow for some growth somewhere that might be covered in a tax advantage stock where you have less taxation on your overall portfolio, but you're still going to get taxed like a son of a bitch on your REITs and BDCs. So, you know, it really just depends on what you want to do. I'm not going to discourage you from getting anything other than the 54 stocks that I grabbed. I just grabbed the 54 most undervalued stocks in the stock market. And some of them are, in fact, growth stocks. It's just they're not the only ones. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of stocks. There's a stock for every active company that is doing business around the world legally, right? So the S&P 500 is just 500 of the best functioning stocks, right? So here's the thing to lean on your question. If you found a cannabis stock in the S&P 500, that would be the best one to grab out of the cannabis stocks that do exist if you wanted to add cannabis to your portfolio. But it doesn't make you a better person or a worse person. It doesn't help the cannabis business get better. You buying like weed cigarettes and buying like sugar infused with cannabis or alcohol infused with cannabis where you're really supporting the market by buying the product, that kind of makes the cannabis market do better. But they are traded. He said, if it ain't paying dividends, I'm out. Well, it's not going to pay dividends, bro. I'm not saying that they won't eventually make those kinds of stocks for cannabis, but the reason why you didn't hear me talk about it sooner is because when I looked at all of the dividend paying ones, these are and there were a lot more than the ones that I talked about. I talked about all of the ones that were, well, not all of them, most of the ones that were under $100, under $50, under $20. I did get a lot of the blue chip companies that are up there like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Johnson and Johnson. I did get some $200 and $300 stocks like Shell, Chevron, and ExxonMobil. But when I really decided to say, hey, for the person who has zero portfolio and like $100 a week worth of extra money and they want to start investing, let me give you some stocks that cost less than $5 that a case of beer, the cheapest case of beer that you can find, the cheapest 12 pack or the cheapest 6 pack that you can find in the store right now is $10, and that's 4 shares of Ellington residential at what, $2.25 a piece. So, and that one's paying you back like 8 cents a share. So you 4 shares, that's what, 36 cents back every month on those 4 shares. So a case of beer could get you back 36 cents a month. That's not a lot of money. That's not a lot of money. But when you think about how the average person could be spending $300 a week on alcohol, and then that turns into $900 a month, and that turns into $9,000 in 10 months. If you're spending less than $3 a share, that's like 3 shares for $9 or less than $9, which means that for $9,000, you've got, 3,000 shares. Now, when you got 3,000 shares giving you 8 cents a share, now you're looking at like $2,400. That's when it really starts making a lot of sense because that's still $2,400 per month, not per year. And that's when it really starts stacking up. That's when you'd be like, shoot, I should have did this sooner. So when you get that email and you're like, oh, this one paid, this one paid, this one paid. Like I rolled over one day by accident and checked the app and it's like, shit, there was a whole another $20 in there. Like, damn, where'd that come from? Right. And I rebalanced it to make sure that the whole portfolio gets to grow the way I want it to grow. Right. So and I'm not going to say stop looking at new stocks. Always, always, always look for alternatives. You want to make a list that even if you don't have money invested on those stocks, you want to make a list of other stocks that you can watch, you can track. And the reason why that is because at any point in time, the 54 stocks that we're watching could change their direction. And one or two things could happen. You could not like the way they do business and want to pull your money out of the company out of protest, or that company could not perform the way it used to perform. They could stop giving dividends. They could cut their dividends to where they're giving less per share than what they used to give, and that would make you pull your money away from that stock, right? And when you pull your money away from that stock, you have to have a backup plan. So I'm not going to say stop looking. No, you should keep looking. You should keep looking and keep trying to find. And when you cross reference what you have, because remember, the sweet spot is 15 stocks. You've got about 19 or 20 right now. If you put the Erie stock in there, you might have 20 stocks. So you have maximized a successful portfolio. You can keep adding, but you're going to dilute your dividend distribution because if you've got like 20% that are producing and then a bunch of 3% that's producing, that's the same as having like 3 A's and 7 D's. You're diluting your average. You're no longer experiencing the volatility because I grabbed you some in medicine, I grabbed you some in energy, I grabbed you some in real estate and BDCs, I grabbed you some in other markets where you are a lot more diversified. I didn't get it from every single market out there. You're not 100% diversified, but you're diversified enough where you can outperform the S&P 500 and not have to worry about taking catastrophic losses. You'll see your portfolio is up more than it's down, and the stocks that are down are the ones that you invest in, right? So what you do now is you want to compare what you're looking at and its performance to the 20 that you have on the field. It's going to be just like if you were setting up a football field or a soccer team, since we're dealing with soccer and the World Cup and stuff. You have your starting lineup already in play. That's the ones that you're paying for. You want to scout other stocks and see if they are going to be a good fit for the team. Have them ride the bench, watch their performance. Whenever you pull one of your stocks out, you put another stock into play. But you can't put another stock into play that you have no knowledge of. So definitely do your research on it and then keep that one as a back burner stock. And then when you decide, I want to take this one out and put that one in, then you're good to go. But what I believe is going to happen is that you're going to do a lot of digging, you're going to do a lot of research, you're going to compare stocks, and you're only going to add stocks that fit your lifestyle to the portfolio But if you compare the stocks that you're looking at versus the stocks that I picked for you, you're going to say, you know what, the ones that he grabbed are the best ones to use to get the largest quantity of money that we can get in the shortest period of time and still experience long-term growth. He grabbed the best ones that nobody really pays attention to because they're not thinking the way I'm thinking. They're thinking macro level scale, right? And a lot of people do the automated mentality. There's three of them, and I know they got the S&P 500, they got the VOO, and there's another one out there, and I forgot the third one. But if you get all three of those, that's like 1,500 something companies, and you can just put your money on those three macro level stock ETF scenarios and benefit from the entire stock market without having to try. But by hand picking 20, you can get better results by hand picking 20 and, and outpace everybody else. And that them being able to turn their brains off and let their money make money for it, that's going to be what it does. The rest of us hand picking, especially since we're doing a 100% dividend paying stock, meaning that 100% of the stocks we have is paying dividends. You know, it, that's the retirement status. And the reason why that's the retirement status is because while you might have drip turned on right now in your 30s, in your 70s, you'll turn off the drip and say, hey, I'm just going to deposit this money into my bank account and pay all my bills. And when you're getting $3,000 a month from your brokerage account, you can go to the Philippines and get a digital nomad visa. You can get a permanent residency visa, right? So you don't got to be balling out of control. You just got to make more money than what you need to go live somewhere else. You said that Europe, the money that you're making in America is enough to be living like a king in other countries. If you're making that 30, 40, $50,000 a year off your brokerage account here in America, and that's a guaranteed pay, you can always just dip and go to another country and be like, bump this. You know what I mean? And then if you ain't got nothing here, for those people who sell off all of their stuff and then move to another country, it's easy for you to backpack across the world when you've got a guaranteed paycheck. You get you an international bank account, have your brokerage account, put the money into your international bank account, and then you can currency exchange and withdraw the money straight out of whatever country's ATM machine or bank that you got going on over there, which is a lot easier because you reach a point doing it that way where you can quit working because your money is making money for you, and then you don't have to worry about working. Another thing is that the more money you build up, you can work less because your brokerage account is turning over more money, right? uh Steven says, I have no moral judgment about these companies. Even do they pay or not? That's how I feel. I'm coming from a perspective of they're not about to tell me shouldn't invest in this stock because it handles blood diamonds. If those blood diamonds pay dividends, bro, I have killed enough fish in my day. I have skinned enough animals alive to know that I have blood on my hands. So there's no reason why those diamonds can't put cash in my pocket. People are going to tell me I'm heartless. But look, I'm going to tell you something. You don't know what people go through to get the Jordans on your feet. So don't worry about the money that's going in my pocket. Worry about how you going to put money in yours. Steven says, I got over 7K in the S&P 500. Sheesh. In a different brokerage account that I started before I found you and started to stash at. Okay. I even added a little VOO into the stash. Now, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. Look at the performance of the $7,000 that you put into your S&P 500, and then look at the performance of the 19 or 20 stocks that I told you about, and look at the return on your investment. Look at the difference. The S&P 500 is 500 something businesses that's averaging 10% return on investment year over year on average. And you've got 15% return on investment from me or more if you put more money on your real estate investment trust and your BDCs. So your 7 grand from your S&P 500 investment would likely year over year gain you about $700 a year. But I'm giving you 15% return on investment. So for every $10,000 you got sitting in the brokerage account, you're getting back 1,500. That's a way better turnabout. And then the wild part is, I looked at Stash App. Even though you've got the $36 a year, $32 if you pay for the annual membership, they still give you enough stock parties to give you free stocks to give you back the $36 over the year. The premium one for the um 401k or the Roth IRA, that one, I think it costs like $129 a year to use it, and they're giving you 225 back to match the 7,500 that you put in your Roth IRA. That only benefits you if you are putting 7,500 in your Roth IRA, but they give you 3% matching, which is $225. So if you use their platform, they will credit your account the amount of money that you're paying into the account anyway. So you end up getting your money back, plus whatever you get off of telling everybody else how good it is and having them sign up. So uh, right now it pays for itself. But when it stops paying for itself, or when I start putting everything into the trust, then I would change everything over to Charles Schwab's, because Charles Schwab's, you have the free management of the portfolio. The only thing that I have a concern about with Charles Schwab is that for the most part, you have to buy the full price value of the stock. You can't do partial. They do have an ETF trading scenario, but it is unlikely that the ETF version of every stock that we're buying is available in Charles Schwab's. But the guaranteed ETF only stocks that would be available in Charles Schwab's, we will be able to do the same thing that we're doing now. Stash app is an ETF platform. So you are not buying the stock, you are buying the electronic transfer funds that is applied to the value of the stock, which is why it's more liquidatable, and it is more lucrative for you, because in this particular dynamic, you don't have to have the full $300 for the Shell, Chevron, and ExxonMobil stocks. You can put $3 on each one of them. And if it's giving you a 3% return, you get 3% return on the $3. It just requires people to change the way they do what they do, and then it's more accessible on your phone as an app. You can watch it while you're in the bathroom. You can watch it while you're taking a break. You can be checking your stocks while you're dealing with a traffic stop, because it's more accessible to you than the Charles Schwab. But I would eventually put some of it into the Charles Schwab's. It's not all of it. He says, I think I'll always keep the Stash app for its convenience, use and stock parties. Bro, I'm not getting rid of Stash. I'm gonna hold on to Stash. I would move the largest majority of my big money into the trust, building up the kind of trust that holds all of the properties and everything to that effect. I would still have something, a little something, something for myself on the side, because I've found value in Stash App. So I don't think I'll ever part with this particular platform. But I do believe that when I'm doing a few $100,000, a couple $1 million, yeah, I can see myself moving a lot of my money over to a larger platform. When I'm able to afford to buy full dollar value stocks. But again, one of the problems is that with Charles Schwab's is that if there's any money left over, it just lingers. Now you can sweep that money into a high interest savings account until the value reaches an amount for you to buy full dollar value stocks. But you know, there's a percentage of your money that's not making money for you while you're waiting on it to build value. So these are the things that we talk about when we start talking about proofing your future life. Now, let's go ahead and dive into today's topic at hand. Because we still got 88 pages to go. We're on page one. All right. Now, picture for a second. Everything in your life, your mindset, your finances, your health is made of glass. On a calm day, it all looks fine, maybe even beautiful, shining in the sun, glistening. But then one unexpected shock hits: a job loss, a health scare, random pregnancy. Market suddenly crashes. The whole thing shatters. The pieces scatter, and your life is left scrambling to put everything back together, knowing that it'll never be quite as strong as it was before. You've ever broken a cup and tried to glue it back together? You know what I'm talking about. It's never the way it was before the first time you broke it. Now let's imagine a different way. Imagine a life built not from fragile gas, but from forged steel. A life deliberately engineered to withstand pressure, to bend without breaking, and to bounce back even stronger when the world tries to knock you down. A life where shocks and stressors don't just fail to break you, but actually makes you a little bit better. Special shout out to OG Kicks. Now, this isn't a fantasy. You guys got to understand. This is a blueprint, and today I'm gonna hand it to you. That's why I told you guys we're gonna start seeing a lot of stuff falling into the membership for the upcoming week. We're going to architect a life that's harder to break by systematically forging three pillars of steel: psychological steel, financial steel, and physical steel. Now, this isn't about wishful thinking, this is about engineering. Now, before we can start swinging the hammer, we have to understand the metal that we're working with. The core idea behind this whole blueprint is anti fragility. It's a term coined by the thinker Nazim Nicholas Taleb, and it's a total game changer. See, most of us think in a simple binary: you're either fragile or you're robust. Fragile things like our glass life break under stress. A single source of income is fragile. A portfolio with no cash is fragile, which is why I draw the biggest concern when someone asks me about a growth stock, because it's fragile. Whenever it tanks, all the money that was there is now gone. You have effectively lost it, even if it wasn't your principal. Whatever interest you earned over the period of time that that stock was there, once that stock starts going down, you have effectively lost the money that you gained. And no matter how we pretend like that's not going to impact us, when you see your total amount of your portfolio depreciate by $5,000, your soul sinks. Imagine a multimillionaire's portfolio goes from 10 million down to 4 million, seemingly overnight. That's not a good feeling to have. But that's the experience that you will get from a growth stock portfolio. Now, you also have a mindset that crumbles at the first hint of criticism. Where when people tell you that you don't know what you're talking about, they tell you that you're wrong, that you're making this up. We get a lot of hecklers on the show that try to criticize with no logical backing. But that's fragile if you break under pressure. So, what's the common advice to become robust? A robust system, like a think thinking thick concrete bunker, can withstand stress. It can endure. Emergency fund is robust. Having multiple clients is robust. Stiff upper lip mentality is robust. And don't get me wrong, robust is good. It's way better than fragile, but it has its hidden flaws. Special shout out to Daniel. What's good? What's good, everybody? Happy Friday. You. The Copa Verde versus Argentina was a great game. Oh, man. I bet on that game, on another game. and I won enough stuff off of that game to buy me like 10,000 troops so that I could have my army go attack the enemy while we're on the live podcast. So I get to look at the results of that battle. I don't know if I've covered Argentina yet, and if I haven't, I'm going to try to put it up as one of the shows that we'll see in the next, well, over the next like 8 weeks, because we've got like all the way into September shows already scheduled. I think right now like Mondays and Wednesdays are the only ones that I'm trying to play catch up on. Michael says, manage your change and your dollars will work for you. Well, that's a good logic to have. More people these days are utilizing debit and credit cards, but in an era or an age of cash, whenever you break a dollar, if you invest a change, you'll find yourself way more financially successful than what you would if you just threw the change on the ground or forgot about it, put it in a change jar, and just left it there. He says, "Happy Fourth of July." That's what Obama said. Look, we needed change when Obama got into office. Me, I needed change for the laundromat. Society needed actual change. And since Obama, now I've got industrial washers and dryers in the house, so I don't need I don't need as many coins as I needed back in 2008. But we do have to change the way we look at things. We have to change the way we think about things and change how we approach things. Because in order for us at our current age to see better results than what we received in the past, we're going to have to do things differently than the way we used to operate. He says, if the market is too high, would you wait for the pullback before investing again? Well, if you're investing in growth stocks, you're trying to time the market. If you're investing in dividend paying stocks, you're not trying to time the market because you're buying and holding. And since you're buying and holding, why would you wait? Why would you lose out on the next upcoming ex dividend date to wait the number of weeks or months it takes for the financial pullback? Because just like with Bitcoin, it may never get back down to $5,000 again. The way things are right now, it may never get back down to $20,000 again. So if you're going to wait until it gets back down to a specific dollar value, you may miss out on so much more opportunity. And if it is an actual growing stock, if you are in a bullish market where everything is high, and then you're going to reach a bearish portion of the market where things are going to dip. You're waiting for that dip. But while you're waiting for that dip, you're missing out on the opportunity to get paid every month for holding it. Now, if you're chasing a growth stock, yeah, you probably might want to time the market, wait for it to roll back, and buy as much of it as you can when it rolls back. And then when it takes off, it's going to take off again, and you'll get more on your return because of a growth stock. But a dividend paying stock, there's no reason for you to time the market because it's going to pay you every month from the first month that you buy into it. And reinvesting in your stock before the ex dividend date, you have 24 hours before the ex dividend date, 5 days before the ex dividend date, and depending on the stock, if you're watching it every week, probably 14 days before the ex dividend date, it's gonna dip every month, not at the same time, not the same monetary value, but whatever little 5% dip, 10% dip that it takes, buy in. Yeah, the growth versus dividend stocks. And as I was explaining earlier today, I would lean more on dividend stocks and growth stocks because while growth stocks can grow substantially more than dividend paying stocks in some situations, the issue that I have with growth stocks is that just as quickly as the stock market could go up, the stock market could go back down. Like we were talking about, I forgot the name of I think it might have been a Plantineer was one of the stocks that had went up from like $3.50 to $350 and then went back down to $35. So over the course of like 3 to 5 days. So during the time, if you would have bought like 100 shares for $350 and it exploded to $35,000, right? And you're like, yes, goodbye, right? And before you pulled that fucking money out, it dropped down to $3,500. And it's there. That's where it's at right now. It's stuck. It's not, it hasn't gone back up to the previous $35,000 stack yet. Until it goes back up to where it was, that money is officially gone. It's $32,000 that you'll never see again, unless that growth stock goes back. But a dividend paying stock, if you bought in at $3 a share, or if you bought in at $300 a share, if it's giving you $1 a share, it's fucking giving you $1 a share. If the stock is $150 now when you bought it at $300, if it was giving you $1 a share, it's giving you $1 a share. So if you have 1,000 shares and it's giving you $1 a share, you have $1,000. So it doesn't matter if it's $300 or $50. If you're getting $1 a share, you're getting $1 a share. So for me, the aspiration of growth stocks versus the aspiration of dividend stocks, dividend stocks will keep a new investor, a financially challenged investor, bottom 25% income, bottom 50% income investors. It'll keep them investing. It'll keep them investing because you get that short term gratification dopamine hit from the monthly text message or email that lets you know that you just got paid again. And if you got 17 different stocks that is paying you, you get 17 different emails a month that's saying, hey, you got paid again. Even though it's not a lot, each time that you get paid by email or text message for doing absolutely nothing, it motivates you to put more money there so that you can get paid more next month. You're not going to get that feeling from growth stocks, which means that it becomes a passing thought and out of sight, out of mind. And then you're in a situation where life sucks and now you need money. Well, where's the first place you go to get money? Wherever fucking money is held up. If you got a vault in the house, you're going to clean that out. If you got a piggy bank in the little kid's room, you're going to clean that out. You got savings in the savings account, you're going to clean that out. If you've got money in a suitcase under the floorboards, you're going to clean that out. But if you don't got any of that anywhere else, the first thing you're going to clean out, brokerage account. You're gonna sell everything at a loss because typically we need money when the market sucks. And you're going to sell everything at a loss to pay off whatever the fuck's going on. But see, in a lot of situations, that same monetary value of growth will be paying a quantity of dividends where instead of selling the stock, you just don't drip the dividends and you just deposit the dividends into your account and take care of your financial problem and keep the stock and just spend the dividends. And now you're living off of the interest. That's not something that you can do with the growth. And even if you were to take a loan out on your portfolio, the growth stocks doesn't give you capital to pay off the loan. The dividend stocks do. So if you had a $200,000 portfolio and you borrowed $100,000 off of a growth stock, you would have to pay that portfolio back out of your pocket. But if you had a $200,000 brokerage account and it was paying 10 or 15% return on investment, where you would be getting anywhere between $20 and $30,000 a year off of it, you borrowed 100 grand, you could pay that back in 3 years from the brokerage account. So you could out of your 200 grand, you can borrow 100 grand, put it, double it down on your brokerage account, right? And generate shit tons of money off your portfolio where your portfolio pays back the 100 grand that you borrowed inside of 3 years. Where you yourself took no money out of your pocket to achieve that. That's the benefits of a dividend paying account versus a growth stock. It's not going to be as fast growing as a growth stock. You know what I mean? So it does have its drawbacks. But for somebody who's starting at zero and working their way up, or like Steven's got like 7 grand somewhere, and then he's starting off with his brokerage account, probably got like 5 grand somewhere else. He hasn't reached that $500,000 position yet. He's still growing his portfolio. The fact is that this will keep him investing because while he might have stopped investing with the S&P 500 with the 7 grand in the S&P 500, he's more motivated now to put more money where it needs to be at with the dividend paying stocks. It's a whole different feeling. It's the difference between getting the employee of the month plaque put on the wall every month versus getting a paid bonus every week because you did a good job, right? That picture on the wall don't mean shit to me. The job sucks. But that big ass bonus I get every month, every paycheck, every week, that that makes me keep coming back. And that's what I try to talk to everybody about. He says, good point. It's scary that our investment decisions are ruled by dopamine hits. Well, honest to God, that's really the way things are. Because the people who run from the stock market run from fear. They are triggered by the fear of failure, losing all of their money. They don't understand that very few companies are going to go belly up just because some bullshit just went down. Like we were talking about the real estate situation, and we're going to be covering that real estate situation on Monday. We were talking about the real estate situation in New York yesterday. Um, the changes that are being made in real estate is not going to hurt the stock market itself. It is going to keep the share value of the stocks low longer, but it's not going to make them go out of business. They still have a large enough quantity of properties in every state in the country where this isn't going to hurt them enough to say that the three biggest blue chip, long standing real estate investment trusts that we're investing in right now would actually go out of business. Um, and that's but the volatility is everybody's afraid of real estate right now because Donald Trump is passing laws that nobody likes. Automakers, the stock market is volatile for them too because Donald Trump is passing laws that nobody likes. Tech companies, tech is leveling off because it was overvalued because it was a hot commodity new into the real estate market. But then it started becoming undervalued because Donald Trump backed away from the tech drive with the $7,500 tax credit for EV cars and all of this other stuff. He pulled back on certain things that he thought was unnecessary to make the market more fair. So the decisions that he makes, the changes that he makes, keeps the stock market volatile. As a result, all of the best stocks to have are undervalued because nobody wants to put their money there because they're afraid. They want to put their money somewhere else. The dopamine hit that I made a smart decision and I'm getting money off my silver. I'm getting money off my gold. And it's a safe bet because nobody makes a government policy about gold and silver, right? But they'll make a policy about tariffs that'll fuck up everything else that we invest in, right? So, a lot of people do emotional investing. A lot of people make emotional decisions with their finances. And that's not what you need to do. You need to take a breath, back off of your financial decisions until you take your emotions out of the equation, and then start making decisions after you are emotionally dead. Otherwise, like Michael said, off to the pawn shop because there ain't no other way. There ain't no other way for you to find yourself financially successful if you're not building a better standard of living by putting more money in the right places. Because before you but when you're hard up on money, before you start pawning your own stuff, because typically Americans are also hoarders. So most of us can find a large number of items in our house or in our apartment or in our trailer that is just in the way. Something that we look at every day, don't pay it no attention, but when we need freaking money, that's the item we're going to grab and go run down to the pawn shop because we don't want to throw it away. We have no time in our life to use it again, but we know that if we did have the time, we might find a way to factor that into our lifestyle so we don't get rid of it. But as soon as we need cash, we're pawning all of that shit, right? But if because we're hoarders, you had the ability to sell your brokerage account and go and take care of that financial problem, you won't go to the pawn shop. You go to the pawn shop after you clean out your brokerage account. I don't know why people don't do the reverse. Pawn all the shit that you don't need in your house before you go and fuck with your brokerage account. But that's why people say, hey, build you an emergency fund. That way you don't have to mess with your brokerage account. I agree with you. Even in a regular trade, most people feel compelled to take profits early. It's built into our psyche. Yes, We want to see the results of our decisions right now. We are adult children. You notice when a child, when you want a child to do something and you give them instructions, they want to see the instant results right now. I want to know what'll happen right now. How does this benefit me right now? They're not going to um, do the long haul. A 6, 7, or 8 year old is not going to behave for 365 days so that they can get something for Christmas. You can get them to behave in October and November because December is coming up. You can get them to stop acting an ass in August because December is coming up. But in January, February, and March, fuck Santa Claus because they do not have a grasp of long term return on investment. I invest positive behavior for immediate positive return on my investment, which is candy, toys, gifts, and everything to that effect, hanging out with my friends and all this other stuff, right? And as adults, we behave the same way. Look at the way we treat dating. Guys take girls out on dates, return on investment, sleep with the girl. Girls going out with guys, return on investment, free stuff on the date. Immediate gratification. Neither party is saying, hey, I'm going to invest a lot of time in this person so that I can retire with this person. They never think of that. How you doing, David? He said, for me, the only investment I will ever get the principal back on is a CD, which I hold some of those. You don't get as much back on a CD as you do with the portfolio I built for you. And with the interest rates changing right now, luckily for you, you were locked into the previous interest rates when the CD was first established. When that CD matures, you're going to rethink your position because interest rates went down to 3% or less after they cut interest rates in December. They haven't cut interest rates in June, and they're considering raising interest rates by the end of the year. So if they do raise interest rates, then you might want to buy back into your CD depending on when it matures. But as it stands right now, if we maintain the interest rates that we had in December, which is less than the interest rates were when you got your CD, reinvesting in, you're going to get less back over time. The bank is using your money while your money is sitting in under contract in their possession, and it opportunity cost. It's making less money for you than what your brokerage account is making for you in Staff Shop. To be honest, he says if it goes into a stock, it will never leave that position unless real estate is the outcome. That's what I'd be putting everything on real estate while real estate is volatile. And I would have like 70 or 80% of my portfolio real estate investment trust. And then when Donald Trump is no longer in office, then I will start rebalancing my portfolio to other places and bring it back down to like I want to say 30% being REITs, and then the other 70% be the rest of the portfolio. Trader says it's the immediate gratification syndrome. Yes, that is true. And in order for you to teach yourself long-term satisfaction over short-term gratification, you have to wean yourself off of short-term gratification because your future goal of having $1 million feels a lot more achievable when your monthly goal of getting back $100 starts happening right now. And that's only going to happen from a dividend paying stock. You can't, no person is going to take the change off of their paycheck and put it into a bank account that doesn't give them back interest and say, I'm going to make $1 million over the next 5 or 10 years. But everybody who's putting money into a brokerage account that's giving them back 15% return on investment can say that every $10,000 I put down, that's 15,000, that's $1,500 back, which is 11,500 a year. Over 10 years, that's $115,000. Over 20 years, that's $230,000, and that's without compounding interest. With compounding interest, you might be somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million, $750,000. So it's different when you're able to do that calculation based on your monthly results because you're seeing what you're feeling. He said, "What's the rate on the CDs?" The CDs right now, he says, when they hit 5%, I got a few and have been reinvesting them ever since. Well, as long as he's locked into the 5% value, you stick with that. Uh, as far as that's concerned, because you don't have to put all your eggs in one basket and only do real estate investment trusts and only do brokerage accounts. You can do CDs, you can do a IRA, a health savings account, you can um, do a 401k, you can do um, the annuities and mutual funds, and then do the life insurance policy. You know, you can get a life insurance policy out on your dad so that you can get a payday up for yourself when your dad passes. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do. So, but 5%, that's good because you can put more because they used to have checking accounts that would give you 5% return on up to $500 per account. GTE used to do 5% for $500 in the checking account, 5% for $500 in the savings account. So if you had a checking and a savings account with GTE, you would get 5% return on investment for the first $1,000 you put in those two accounts. Then the rest of it goes back down to regular market rate. And I would just rebalance the money to another checking account that does the same shit. That says, hey, up to $500, you know. As that doesn't do you when you think, well, they're going to give me back 5% on $500. That's not a lot of money. That might be like $25, but it's $25 for every account that's offering that same offer, right? So it just really requires you to compound it. So you do need to double check um, if it is better for you right now, because if the CDs are producing lower interest rates than treasury bonds, then if you're trying to do buy and hold situations, I would tell you switch over to a treasury bond from a CD. One reason being is because the government's never going to close down. So, I mean, the difference between a volatile stock market and your bank closing down and that CD being valueless versus a treasury bond where the government is always going to be here unless the apocalypse occurs, you're probably going to do a lot better with a 4.1% from a treasury bond than what you're going to do from 3.1% from a CD from a bank. That's my observation there. So even though nobody asked me about CDs today, that's my recommendation on CDs is that when it starts going below treasury bonds, you cash out and go to treasury bonds. He says, when I reinvent the percentages have been going down every time I reinvest. Yeah, it's going to go down every time you reinvest because it's going to recalibrate to what the current market is. If you've got a 3-year CD, it's going to be locked in at whatever the rate was when you got the account or when you activated the account. So even if interest rates go down, you're locked in by contract to whatever the interest rates were when you first activated that CD. If you're doing a CD every 6 months and the market changes that year, it's going to go down. So now when it matures, instead of reinvesting back in, you're now looking at, well, fuck, it's at 3.3% or 3.1% or 2.9%, depending on what bank you're at. Give me my money. Let me go talk to Uncle Sam and start buying me some treasury bonds at 4.1 or 4.4% because that's going to give me more money, more return on my investment, and it's tax deferred, which the CD is not. So that's an added bonus because a treasury bond is going to give me back more interest rates on that treasury bond than a CD, and I'm not going to be taxed on it year over year because it's tax deferred. So if they hold my treasury bond for 2 years, I'm not paying taxes on it each year. But if they hold my CD, that CD, I'm going to pay taxes on that motherfucker. Soon as it says, here's your money, got to pay taxes on it that year, right? So got to think about that. Opportunity cost is more observational in your long-term investment strategy than return on investment. It's not how much you're going to get back after it's done. It's how much you could have gotten back had you put your money somewhere else versus where you're about to put it. If this is the best course of action, while you do want to be diversified, so you might not put everything in the 15% or 18% return on investment scenario. The fact is that if you have money in a 3% scenario that you can move to a 4% scenario without moving it over to the brokerage account, I would move it. I would move it because you can get a 12-month treasury bond at 4.4% and be doing better. And if you're if you're like we recommended, because I talked to Dylan about this, if you're doing a 12-month treasury bond and you get one every month, you would have every month a treasury bond paying you next year. And every month you can keep the difference and reinvest the principal, or you can just reinvest the principal and add to it every month, where now you got 12 treasury bonds that you're rolling over, right? That's just something to think about. Now, one of the flaws about a robust system, at best, it only ever gets back to where it was in a robust system. It survives the storm, but it doesn't learn from the storm. The storm weakens it, even if it doesn't break it. So, a robust system, it takes more blows, but it doesn't improve and optimize. Yeah, you pay taxes on REITs. Yes, you do, but you're getting a shit ton more money on a REIT. Think about, like I said, you're getting 22% interest return on investment on the top three real estate investment trusts that we're talking about right now, 20 to 22% return on investment. So for every $10,000, you get $2,000 back. You're going to get taxed at normal interest rates, or normal tax rates. So if you're taxing you like 24% of your $2,000, they're probably going to take like 500 bucks out of your $2,000. So you made like $1,500 profit after taxes. So your $10,000 is now $11,500 after taxes. But you get taxed on your CDs. You get taxed on your mutual funds when you sell your mutual funds. You get taxed on your annuities. You get taxed on your Roth IRA. You get taxed on your 401k. You do not get taxed on your health savings account, and you do not get taxed on your year over year profits gained from your life insurance policy and your treasury bonds. So, but the difference is between the tax deferred or tax favorable accounts versus the real estate investment trust is that, yeah, they might take $500 out of your $2,000 worth of profit, and you only got like $1,500 back on $10,000, where that's like 11% out of 15, right? Which means that they take like 3 or 4% out for taxation versus a 3% stock that's not going to charge you taxes. So out of $10,000, 3% is going to be what? Like 300 bucks. So the difference is that after taxes with a real estate investment trust, you would have $1,100, or for a company that pays taxes and gives its shareholders post-tax money at 3%, you're getting 300 bucks. The difference is that what, $800 more comes in from the real estate investment trust. So the tax favored stock options are not giving you dollar for dollar better value than the taxable stock options. You're making a shit ton more money with the taxable stock option. You know, it's just not going to give you the share value growth that a lot of people depend on when they're chasing growth stocks. It's giving you guaranteed cash, and it's giving you guaranteed cash right now. He says, don't forget Uncle Sam is taking 1/3 of that for taxes. At the very least, he should be taking about 22 to 24%, because it's going to be based off of your whatever your income is. So if you're making like $70,000 and you're in that 25 or $30,000 a year tax bracket, you're getting hit, because it's going to be that plus the $2,000 that you just made. You're getting hit, right? He says you don't get taxed on a regular real estate refinance because it is a loan. Okay, you're not getting taxed on a loan, but you asked me about a REIT. A REIT is a real estate investment trust. A refinanced real estate loan is refinancing the property that you own, or financing the property that you own, and any income from that property that pays that debt is not taxed. If you borrowed money from the property and you spent it, that's not an income. So paying off your debts can be a tax deduction. So that's a little bit different. So a real estate investment trust is like you buy a property, you put it under a contract where people are going to rent it out and this, that, and the third, and it's going to turn a profit. And real estate investment trusts have a legal requirement to give 90% of its profits to its shareholders. Well, because they're doing 90% of the profits going to the shareholders, they're like, fuck, pay your own taxes. And that's why you're paying taxes on real estate investment trusts, and some BDCs have you paying taxes free because 90% or 80% of their profits goes to their shareholders. It's a very cash lucrative situation. But when you start talking about like Johnson and Johnson, Morgan and Morgan, Dodge, Chevy, somebody like that, they might pay taxes first and then pay their shareholders. Where you're getting post tax money, not pre tax money. And when you're getting post tax money, you don't have to pay taxes on that. But they're giving you far less money as post tax money than what you would be getting from pre tax money. Because if you're getting $800 more pre tax money after taxes, you know, because again, when I gave you that example, when I gave you that example, uh, they shaved $500 off the top. If you had $800 more after taxes, plus the $500 they took before taxes, the $300 you would get from a company you're not paying taxes on, versus the $1,300 that you would have gotten more from a company that's going to take $500 out and give it to Uncle Sam. You way more money, way more money. But a lot of people try to avoid paying taxes as much as possible. So how do real estate owners do refinancing when the interest rates are high? It's fucking it's impossible a lot of the times, especially if you got a lot of debt. So one of the things that first happens with this is that first you have to have a lot of equity in the property. They don't tell you this, but you should have a freaking decent credit score, because if you got a bunch of debt, you're not getting a new loan. Um, and no missed payments. So you got to have a good credit history of on time payments over the last 2 to 5 years. Right? No bankruptcies in the last 5 years, right? So these are going to be some of the things you're going to have to do. Now, what a lot of the times real estate investment individuals do is they buy a distressed property that might be valued at, so say like you got a property that's valued at like maybe $200,000, but it needs a lot of work. So it's being undersold at like $150,000, maybe $100,000 because it's been on the market for a while, but there's a little bit of equity involved in the property. You might finance that property for whatever they're asking for. It needs some work. You're going to put 50 grand worth of work into the property. So you're probably going to borrow $150,000, but you're going to talk the guy into selling it for 100 grand, right? You take that 50 grand, you put it onto the property. You knew that the property could have went for 200 grand easy, where you would have got at least $50,000 out of the property. But guess what? After you renovated the property, it's now worth $300,000. If you borrowed $150,000 from the bank and now the property is valued at $300,000, there's a strong possibility that you can now refinance a lot more off the top of that property and get back another 50 grand or 75 grand off of that property. That's the refinance thing, because there's more equity involved in the property. You get a very distressed house. Say you get a distressed house at like $75,000. You put $50,000 into it. That's $120,000. But it's in a neighborhood where that $75,000 house actually restores to $400,000. In that dynamic, you might have put up 150 grand on the house, where probably 20 grand if it came out of your own pocket, but you double down, and now the property is worth 4 times more than what you bought it. You can now take out an extra $125,000 and get back all the money that you put into the property, and you take that money and go and put it on another property. Then you put a tenant into the property and you have them pay the rent, and the rent goes on the loan. So even though the loan might have went from a $75,000 property that might have you pay like $500 a month, now you done push the loan up to $300,000, and now you're paying like $15 to $2,000 a month, but the tenant is paying that in a neighborhood where the rent is $3,000 a month. So 2/3 of the rent is going on a mortgage, but the mortgage is paid for. long as you keep that tenant in that property. And that's pretty much how they do the dance. Some of them actually have cash up front where they'll borrow, like we talked about the $75,000. They bring 20%, so they might have $10 or $20,000 to put towards that $75,000, buy the property with the $50,000 to do the repairs, right? Because for every 100 grand that you ask for, if you put up 20 grand, right, you can do what you need to do. So your 20 grand, and let's say push the envelope and gave you 100 grand on your 20 grand. That's 120 grand. What did we just say with the property? 75,000 with the property plus 50 grand for the repairs. That's 120 grand, right? But you only put up 20, right? Now, if you only put up 20 and the house is worth 400 and you can borrow another 100, you got back your 20 that you put into the property. And that's why they tell you, oh, you can do it with no money. Nah, you needed some startup money, you needed some seed money, but you get that seed money back real quick and in a hurry. And if you borrow against a stone, that extra 100 grand, you could take that 120K and buy you a second property, or you could pay yourself, where you could say, well, out of this 100 grand, I'm going to give myself 40 grand and take 60 grand and go and do that again. Or I'm going to take 20 grand and do that again, but I'm going to keep the other 80 grand as my paycheck. But because you're giving yourself the money from the loan, it's not considered a profit. And then you're going to put a tenant in the property and pay the property down. So people do it that way too. But if you're getting 80 grand off of one rehab, I don't need to be successful with another house this year because I just got 80 grand. That's the whole year. That's a whole year's income. I just gotta be that successful a second time before I run out of money. And a lot of times, people who are doing it that way can cover 2 to 4 houses a year and roll their bills. He says, I buy this acre and a half in 2021 for $26,000. Today, it's valued at $120,000. Exactly. Exactly. Because you're buying and holding the land, one of the things that you can do in that dynamic is, if there wasn't any debts on the land because you bought it cash up front for $26,000, now that it's valued at $120,000, you can leverage it for like $50,000 or $60,000 and get back the $26,000 you put on the land, and then leverage the land for some capital and use that capital to go make you some more money. Now, the only time that that's beneficial is when the land is making money for you. So if you've got, you said, acre and a half of land, and an acre and a half of land has at least one house on it, and you can utilize that to make you some profits, then you can, like I said, borrow that 60 grand, get back the $26,000 you put down plus interest, and have the tenant pay the difference, cover the spread. Now, back to the main topic, because we were talking about how to fortify your life, but that was some pretty good financial questions to ask there. There is a third option. You want a level above robust, which is anti-fragile lifestyle, which is what we were supposed to be talking about today. An anti-fragile system doesn't just survive stress, it actually feeds on it. It gets stronger from shock. The shock of it is going to improve everything. So I want you to think about this. Our immune system is anti-fragile. Exposure to a virus triggers an adaptation that makes the whole system stronger for the future, which is why they exposed a lot of y'all to COVID, and then y'all caught COVID, but you survived the COVID. I experienced everybody else with COVID, didn't get COVID, and forgot my mask every single time. um, and that reminds me, I was watching this movie. uh, what's it called? It's on Netflix right now. It's called The Last Ship. I think, yeah, the Last Ship. I think that's what it's called, where a virus broke out, and the only people who had the cure was on like naval ships, and the naval ships brings the cure back to the country to save the Americans, and then they have to go all over the world and bring the cure all over the world. And one of these guys was on a Russian ship, and he injected himself. He became a carrier, so he would just breathe on people, and they would get the virus. And the woman made an anti-cure where she could breathe the cure on people and that would heal them. I tell you what, the series is ridiculous, but anti-fragile. Your exposure to a virus triggers an adaptation. And we call those adaptations mutations, right? Your muscles are anti-fragile. Lifting weights on a regular basis creates tiny micro tears, and the muscles grow back stronger in response. We call it muscle memory. If you're lifting 50 pounds a day every day, you get used to lifting 50 pounds a day every day. If you never lift anything bigger than your jump, you can't lift shit. You're looking at 50 pounds like that's too heavy. But if you got 50 pounds on each shoulder, 75 pounds on each shoulder, you're used to picking up 50 pounds. This is the natural observation of steel. A steel isn't just strong; it's forged. You know, it's made through intense stress, through the fire of the furnace, and the powerful blows of the hammer. Folded steel is exactly the same thing. It's going through the process, and then they're folding it and they're matching it and they're pressing it together. Right. That stress is what rearranges its molecule structure, and it's going to be turning a brittle iron into a resilient steel. The stress isn't a bug in the process, it is the entire point. So, our goal isn't just to build a life that can survive the next crisis. Our goal is to build a life that uses the energy from that crisis to become more capable, more skilled, and more powerful. One of the reasons why I'm telling you guys to ride the wave on these real estate investment trusts and BDCs while the market is volatile, because you're probably not going to see them at $2.15 a share much longer. Stocks that are putting out almost 12 cents a share is sitting right around $3 a share. You're not going to see that too long. So we're not building a bunker to hide it. And that's something that you guys want to understand. And when I talk to you guys about investing, I don't talk to you guys about investing by playing it safe and investing by being scared of the system. I talk to you guys about paying attention to what you're trying to accomplish and don't focus on the noise of publicity. Get out there and get what you're trying to get. Because if you wait until the situation looks better and then dive in, you'll miss your moment. It's almost like double dutch, where you're just waiting for your moment to jump in, but your ass don't ever jump in. And then the sun sets and it's time to take your ass home, but you could have jumped in. You ain't never going to know how good you would have been if you ain't never jumped in. You'll never know if you would have run the race if you don't get on the track and start running. You'll never know if your car would have been the fastest car if you didn't put your car in a race. You never know if you would have swam that 100-meter swim if you didn't dive in the pool. You won't know what success looks like if you don't apply yourself to attempt a success. So you got to understand that. So the very first thing that we're placing in the forge is going to be our mind, because without the right mindset, you're never going to accomplish anything worth accomplishing. Right? Your mind is going to be the furnace. It's going to be where the raw iron of your character gets heated, purified, and ready for shaping. So if your mindset is fragile, nothing else that we build on top of it is going to last. Psychological steel is forged through four key processes. First, you seize radical ownership. And this is going to be about forging an internal locus of control. A fragile glass mindset defaults to blaming the outside world for the shit that's going on in their life. The economy is bad. That's why I'm stuck. My boss is a dick. That's why my job sucks. The traffic made me late. This kind of thinking turns you into a passenger in your own life. When the glass shatters, all you can do is blame whoever dropped it. Mind over matter. That's a good saying, but it's more like first person accountability and taking responsibility for the shit that's around you. I can say it is mind over matter when it comes to controlling what you allow to happen instead of winging it as things happen around you. But I do believe that it is more to the magnitude of first person accountability and taking responsibility. Because take for example, I got to work late because of the traffic, but you also left late. Very few people who get to work late can say that I left 2 hours before I was supposed to be at work to take a 45-minute drive to get to work, and I still ended up being 30 minutes late for work. Usually, you know that it takes you an hour to get to work. You leave 5 minutes late. You've got 55 minutes to get there, and you have a 15-minute delay due to traffic. Now you're 20 minutes late for work, and you're going to blame traffic. Situation outside of my control. But if I would have took my ass out of the house 20 minutes sooner, I would have been to work on time. So it's not so much mind over matter as it is taking responsibility for the things that you can control instead of just blaming everybody else for your failure. You get a flat tire, you blame the road. You don't blame the fact that you've been riding on used tires for 5 years and I don't know why them tires lasted so damn long, but you should have changed them 4 years ago. And now that you got a flat, you want to blame the road that you were on. Your lack of responsibility and maintenance in your vehicle is one of the reasons why you're stuck on the side of the road right now. He said the economy is good even when it's bad. Well, yeah, because the only time the economy is truly bad is when people stop spending money. And when people stop spending money, companies stop opening doors. And when companies stop opening doors, employees stop coming to work. And when employees stop coming to work, employees stop having money. That's when the economy is truly bad. Because even when shit starts getting expensive, somebody's paying for it. So somebody's going to work and somebody's serving a customer where somebody's spending money at their company because you can't buy overpriced shit if you're not making enough money on your job to pay for the overpriced shit, which means that somebody else has to be paying for the job that you're working on because the majority of Americans work in a service industry. Most Americans work in a service industry. So you get paid because a product is being sold, all the way down to freaking healthcare and prescription medication. You're getting paid because a product is being sold. So the economy is not truly all that bad if somebody's spending money in that economy. Now, a life of steel is built on an internal locus of control. Remember that. It runs on one simple, powerful question. Okay. This is a situation. What can I do now? That's the question that you're gonna ask yourself. Whatever the situation is, what can I do now? It doesn't deny reality. The economy might be bad, your boss might be a dick, but your person of steel focuses relentlessly on your own sphere of influences. You're going to treat every outcome as if it's your responsibility. This isn't about self blame, it's about reclaiming your agency. It's the shift from asking, why is this happening to me? And change the question to, what am I going to do about it? Your car keep running out of gas. That's because your ass ain't taking it to the gas station often enough. What are you going to do about it? Fix the fuel gauge, top off the car more often, ride around with a gas can in the trunk so you can top your car off more often, put you a 40-gallon gas can at the house and fill up the car before you leave the house more often. You got to make changes. You can't continue to allow yourself to be fucked over and then say that life sucks because you get fucked over without putting any effort into stopping yourself from being fucked over. That ultimately means that you fucking over yourself. The glass life complains about the force of the impact. The steel life asks, how do I reinforce this structure so that the next hit doesn't even matter? Like Star Trek. Shields are down. We took a big hit. Redirect auxiliary power to the shields so we can get hit again. Right? Isn't that what they always do? Some kind of way, they lost all power to all major functions from the last direct hit. And now we're going to take all of the extra power that we got outside of life support systems and redirect it to the shields so that we can get hit again. That's a life of steel. It's cheaper to fill your car than to put $20 in that. I'm gonna tell you what. That's some rock hard. That's some rock hard information right there. Between the foam that bubbles up in your car and potentially evaporates away every time you open your gas cap, the some of the gas stations that got a lot of air in the lines where you're not getting as much gas as you think you're supposed to be getting, and some of the places that actually have, whether it's on purpose or by accident, watered down gasoline. It is better for you to fill that tank until you can see the gas coming out of the gas can so that you know that the tank is full instead of putting $20 in there. And a lot of the times it's $20 of fumes, $20 of air, $20 of vapor, not actually gasoline. And then you'll fuck around and find out that your car lost gas quicker than what you thought. And now you're stuck sooner than what you thought because you didn't fill your tank. You should always fill your tank. And then you should top it off anything half to a quarter, half to seven, from 50% to 75%, top it off. And you're topping it off at that level because there's enough gas in there to stop the fizz from point. Because you know when you put gas into a gas can, it foams up and spills out before the liquid itself actually reaches the max level. Well, if there's already gas in it, it's not going to bubble like that. So half full, three quarters full, top that fucker off. You'll be good to go. And then it might only take $15 to $20 because you're only putting like 5 or 7 gallons into the bitch in the first place. Now, the best way to practice um, this anti-fragile personality is with a simple daily habit. At the end of your day, you want to take 5 minutes and a journal. Every time you're trying to fix your life, you're going to have to kill a tree and grab you a pencil. So that's what we're going to do here. But you want to take 5 minutes and you want to journal some stuff. You want to make 3 columns. First, the event column. Write down something stressful that happened. Second, automatic reaction. Write down your gut response. That may be the fragile response. Then, third, the most important one, own your response. So, here's how you write down what you could have done or will do next that is completely in your control. Event. My project got torn apart in a meeting. Automatic reaction. I felt defensive and annoyed at my coworkers. Owning your response. The feedback, while blunt, pointed out a weak spot, and I'll block off 30 minutes tomorrow to fix that section and ask a friend for a second look. This simple exercise retrains your brain to look for agency, not for escape hatches. Because every day I got to top off $15 or more. My gas card. I told myself I wasn't gonna say nothing because I don't want to jinx shit. But my gas card fucked up, and I love the fact that it fucked up. Somewhere along the lines, uh, they have not finished the activation process. So my card is active and inactive at the same time, which means I can get gas, but they don't charge me for it. So I was just like, well, it is what it is. Um, I'm gonna keep using it till it stops working. I think I'm about $600 in. 3 months of it. After the first two billing cycles, I kind of assume as long as I look at it and it still says processing, but it doesn't show anything else, it is what it is. It'll either bounce back on me eventually, and they'll actually find it and fix it, or the transactions will never actually attach to the account that's attached to my bank account, and I'll never get charged. Either way, I'm like $100 at a time. Like, whew, I don't got to worry about this. And if I'm one in a billion, they're gonna write me off anyway. It's not a problem in life, but how you cope with the. So it's not the problems in life, but how you cope with the situations that matter. Yes, that's true, but not just how you cope with it. Because yes, while that is exactly true, how you deal with the shit that happens in your life is more important than the shit that happens in your life. But how do you change your life so that when that shit happens again, you're ready for it? You go to an exam in college, you don't have a paper, a pencil, or Scantron. You got to ask people around you for paper, pencil, and Scantron. It's very embarrassing, right? No matter how old you are, it's very embarrassing to literally be unprepared in a room of hundreds of people, right? And they know that you're unprepared. But the next test, you've got a pack of Scantrons, you got a pack of pencils, you know, uh, you're prepared in a situation where your pencil always breaks during a test. Now, when you take tests, you got an eraser. In a situation where you do a lot of erasing during a test, in the next test, you got an extra eraser. That way, you don't have the smudge marks on your test answers. When you do not let the situation consume you and you cope with it and adapt to it and improve, that's when you start getting better results. Because running out of gas and calling AAA to fill your car up because AAA will bring you gas, that's only going to work for so long. You have to change the fact that you're running out of gas so that you never run out of gas anymore. Is it, by the way, best way to eat an elephant, one piece at a time. The best way to eat an elephant, with hot sauce, a fork, and a really big knife, and then chew your food heavily, one piece at a time. Because it tastes so much better with some Louisiana tobacco sauce or some sriracha or a little bit of both. Add just some spice to it. Now, the second thing you want to do is embrace voluntary hardships. Now, this is the the heat treatment for your soul, right? Voluntary hardships. You want to embrace these. Steel is heat treated. It deliberately exposes itself to intense controlled temperatures to make it tougher. Now, this works on principle similar to what biologists call uh, hormesis, the idea that small, controlled doses of stressor can actually trigger a positive adaptive response. You can't wait for a crisis to find out if you're tough. You can't wait till the shit hits the fan to find out if your girlfriend's going to have your back. You got to train for that. You have to get familiar with the feeling of discomfort in low stakes environments. You've got to get the feeling that you can count on your homie in low stakes environments. A glass life avoids all discomfort. It's all about convenience. The perfect temperature, the easiest route, the most mindless distractions. Think about this. Think about this. In modern times, we no longer use traditional roadmaps. We GPS that shit. We Google that shit. If we can find the address, we copy and paste the address into Google Maps and have Google Maps tell us how to get there. We may drive there on a regular basis and still don't know how to fuck to get there. Without the GPS, if internet died, if your phone went off, you have no fucking clue how to get to where you're supposed to go because we're too codependent on an external source. Treat yourself to a little bit of discomfort and try to figure out how the fuck to get to your destination without using your cell phone. Because in the situation where when your cell phone died, you got to know how to pay attention to these road signs and these mile markers and these landmarks, which is structures that you pass along the way that you can utilize with your memory recall to say I'm on the right path because I passed this to get out here, so I got to pass it to get back. Right? This creates a dangerously low tolerance for the genuine hardships of life when you are taking the easiest way to accomplish everything. When real adversity shows up, it's going to feel like a tidal wave because you have no practice handling the ripples. Is it roadmaps prior to GPS? Yeah, I know. I know. And in between roadmaps and GPS, we had MapQuest where you could print out the directions. But even with MapQuest, you had like 30 pieces of paper that told you which street to make a turn on to get you where you had to go. And now we just GPS to get where we got to go. He said had a whole glove box of road maps. Oh, he had a whole glove box of road maps for almost every city. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I bet you had pinholes in there where you were marking certain locations. You had marker on some of them where you circled certain destinations. Yeah. You had some with like Sharpie drawn into it to show you exactly which path you were supposed to head. I know. I know. Forging steel means intentionally choosing the hardest path or a similarly harder path on a regular basis just to keep yourself accustomed to the change, the routine of it, right? It's about what farmer Navy SEALs call stacking micro wins. This isn't about being a masochist, it's about calibrating your internal barometer. You deliberately expanding your comfort zone by taking on one step outside of your comfort zone on a regular basis. So expanding your comfort zone by taking one step outside of it again and again and again, overcoming the limitations of your original comfort zone. He said it's going to be a lot of fun when GPS is not available one day in the future. You know how fun it's going to be when can't nobody drive their car in the future? Fuck GPS. The car turns off when your vitals aren't right. You know how I'm gonna be in my 19 something or other and weaving through traffic with everybody's car shut down and mine still running on fuel. Everybody else got an electric car and I'm out there paying thousands of dollars for a gas car so that I can be out on the road. The GPS made driving a big rig so much easier. Of course. And autopilot is going to make driving a rig so much easier. He said, remember the time you got kinetic sand stuck in your ear? No, I don't. I don't know what you're talking about, but I appreciate you coming to the show. I enjoy the hecklers dropping in. uh, stay blessed. One love, Ja Rastafari. Okay. Ninja, special shout out to Ninja. He says, my car has uh, got, but I don't use it. Oh, my car has gas, but I don't use it. I mastered the Bluetooth and music. Oh, your car has GPS, but you don't use it. Yeah, I don't use the GPS in my car neither. I use the GPS on my phone. Uh, because my car's a 2008. If I can manually type in the GPS location, my car will take me where I need to go. But I don't want the motherfuckers to start trying to charge me subscription for that shit. uh, he said you got the Bluetooth and the music, and that's good enough for me. I don't need screens in the car. I'm from the 80s. I'm from the 80s too. I know. You younger than me though. I'm from 83. I'm trying to tell you. We look at like all the technology that I got right now, like it's convenient, but I kind of want to floor shift, talking about some like listening to the engine and shifting gears and all of that other stuff. You know, you get your little bit of music, but regular Pioneer radio, the Bluetooth the music to their stereo, and just bump your jams and shift your gears. That's really all you need, right? In a life where you don't have a mandatory destination with a limited period of time, we'll get there when we get there and we'll figure it out by riding around until we get tired of riding around. Then we ask somebody for directions. But living a life where you got to get there in a short period of time, it's like GPS that shit. That's the fastest way we don't make mistakes. Now, what does setting yourself up for harder challenges in minute situations look like? It's shockingly simple. It's taking a 60-second cold shower after your warm one. I'm going to say that again. Enduring the pressure. It's like taking a 60-second cold shower after you've taken a warm shower, after you've taken your hot shower. So get up in the morning, go take you a shower. You finish with your shower, turn off the hot water, and just chill there for a couple minutes before you get out. This is wild. But if you were in a situation where you didn't have hot water, you'd be ready for it because you condition yourself to take it. It's choosing stairs instead of an elevator. It's doing that workout that you really wanted to skip. It's forcing yourself to read a challenging book for 15 minutes without your phone nearby. It's doing the one task that you've been dreading first thing in the morning. Each of these small doses of voluntary hardships is what you need to see yourself do better because of the shit that you put off for weeks, months, and years. If that's the first thing you do when you get up, one, it's done, so you don't got to look at it anymore. And two, if you can get through that, you can get through anything else for the rest of the day. He says, so we will have to repair our own car, but it'll be so complicated that nobody will do it. Yes, if you buy a car after 2021, the newer the car is, the harder it's going to be to fix it. Yes, you will be able to fix your own car to some degree, but yes, you will also not only have to pay dealership fees to reactivate your car because of the dealership exclusive items, but it's also going to be excessively hard to get the car apart. I seen somebody show on social media how he got his hood open by opening his doors and then pulling a pin out of the door frame and pulling a lever after pulling out the pin to pop the hood on both sides. And he had to do it on both sides of the car. Then when he lifted the hood, he had to take a screw or a nail and put into a hole to hold the hood up. I'm sitting there looking like, when the fuck did that shit start being a thing? Like, bro, all we had to do was just pull the rip cord, that motherfucker, pump, pump, and then we would just, and it's up, and it ain't going back down. It ain't going back down. We have to reach up there, grab that bitch, and boom, like slam dunk the hood to make the hood close. And sometimes it wouldn't close. It would sit there, and we would have to push down on it until we hear that. And once we hear that, we know the hood is locked in. But nowadays, man, it's like a mission and a half. It's like Transformers trying to get the damn hood up. They're doing it on purpose because they don't want you in it. These are the best times in life is when I have gotten lost. Not gonna lie to you, I can agree with you on that 100%. No modifications needed. Will all the old junk cars double in value? No, they're not going to double in value. So, real quick, when it comes down to the older model cars, they're not going to double in value because they are a depreciating asset. So they're not going to increase their monetary value until they become an antique, which requires them to cross over the 30-year threshold. A 30-year-old car is valuable. So in 2030, a 2000s model will be an antique and it'll be valuable. In 2026, a 1996 model would be valuable, not a 1991 model. Well, yeah, actually, a 1991 model would be valuable too, but a 2004 model is not valuable in 2026 because it's not 30 years old. It's a depreciating asset. So, with more people that are that would decide to swing towards buying older model cars, what would happen is the reason why the value of cars depreciates so quickly is because people chase the new car and the certified pre-owned car. But if everybody says fuck new cars, or the majority of people say fuck new cars, I'm going to deal with used cars that are older than certified pre-owned cars, then what's going to happen is that the value of the vehicles are not going to go down as quickly. The same way trucks retain their value, used cars might retain their value more because very few people are going to want the new cars. I can't say nobody. A lot of idiots want to be the first one to have it. The way they're pre-ordering GTA 6, they're likely to pre-order this. You got some of these little jits paying 200 something $1,000 for a Hellcat, Demon, Genesis, whatever model, just so that they can have the fastest car at the car meet because it's a stock car made by the dealership. And I actually had a debate with somebody about that because I told him, "Oh no, that's a stock car." I said he didn't build that at home. That's a stock car. Oh no, it's not a stock car. It's got this, it's got that, it's got the other. Bro, you're telling me what the trim of the damn Charger is. Okay. The trim means that it was made at the manufacturer with certain specific parts that came directly from the dealership, tuned by the dealership. You took it home and you brought it to the track. That's a stock car. It was made that way. A custom car is a car that you did an engine swap on, you did a transmission swap on, you didn't did a body reduction, you just stripped all of the parts out of the car, put your own carpet down, put a roll cage in there, reinforced the windows on that bitch. You didn't did stuff to the car that is not stock. But if you got it from the dealership the way they built it in the factory, that's a stock car. Young man was like, "Oh, I didn't know that." Yeah, yeah, your $200,000 Hellcat Demon Genesis whatever is still a stock car. It's just a dealership made a fucking 5 second car. It just sounds like a Buick Riviera. Yeah, that's what I'd be fucking with a Buick. uh Lincoln Town Car. Yeah. Lincoln Continental. Yeah, we going all the way back in the day. Right? Purchase pre-electronic vehicle. Exactly right. We're talking about I'm trying to find cars that still have 8-track tape players in them. That's where we at right now. Because with what they got going on with stalking you inside of your car's wiretapping in 2026. Your car got video where they're recording your performance in your car in 2026, and everything in the car is able to be sold to third parties and handed off to the police. So if you're doing illegal activities in your car, they can catch you and use the video footage from inside of your car against you. Gotta gotta find something else to do. He said the other day an Apple One computer was auctioned and sold for a good price. I wish I had bought one and stored it. Man, look, when we had no value in these products were expensive for our time. So we didn't have any value for it because we couldn't afford that shit. Now, that exact same item is worth more than a brand new one. Y'all know PlayStation, not yeah, PlayStation and other gaming systems they're talking about they're not doing discs anymore. So everybody who's running the GameStop selling off all their discs because those discs could be worth like hundreds of dollars, $500-700 a disc when the 20-year-olds become 50-year-olds and the games that were used to be available on disc only is not available anymore on the cloud. If we would have knew back in the day what we know now, we wouldn't have sold our games. He said land boats. with parade decks and fins like the Cadillac Coupe de Ville, the Cadillac DTS. We talk about the Firebird, um, the Thunderbird on top of the Firebird. I mean, we got some old school classics, man, that young folks don't know about those old school classics. We hear about the Bel Airs, but I mean, we need to really get into some of the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s models. And you're going to find some of those cars for like 40 or 50 grand, which is the same price as a brand new car. But if you get you a resto mod, which is a restoration mod, you can get you a car that's 50, 60 years old and it'll run just like a brand new 2026 model. How you doing, Rosie? And those game shows at garage sales. Yeah, them games show up at a garage sale. They show up at the garage sale for 15 cents, 75 cents. Mama's selling off all your shit, got no value to it, and you take them damn games and you just put them into to a nice temperature controlled location, sealed up in a storage bin, and then wait like 10 years and pull them fuckers out and be like $500 a game. Put them up on eBay, peer to peer lending, right? Now, each of each of the small doses that I'm talking to you about is voluntary hardships, and each one of them is going to send a message to your nervous system. I'm the kind of person who does hard things on purpose, and I'm in charge of that. That's what you're going to be thinking about. The discomfort is the hammer, and the adaptation is going to be the steels getting stronger. Deliberately doing things the hard way becomes the way that you operate, which also means, like, for example, if you take the stairs all the time, if the elevator breaks, you always take the stairs. The people who always take the elevator, when the elevator breaks, they're going to loathe taking the stairs. This is how you change yourself from being a victim of circumstances to adaptation. Survival of the fittest. He says, Ford Thunderbird used to smoke any Porsche for the first 100 years. Yeah, Porsche is not as fast as you think. Porsche takes a lot of energy on the top end in order for it to take off. Porsche it's a nice car to have, but it isn't really the fastest thing off the line. And it's got a pretty good top speed on that son bitch. But I mean, who's going 200 miles an hour these days? With the speed limits out here and anything over 100 miles, you're going to jail and they're crushing your car. Who's going 200 miles these days? So really, when you start looking at a Porsche topped off at 155 miles an hour with a governor on it, like Porsches ain't really like it's a luxury, it's a name brand. But if you can get you a Ford Pinto to get you where you got to go, you might as well get you a Ford Pinto. My last car was a '97 Thunderbird, Toyota Celica GTS. Is that what's hot for the generation is tennis shoes, sneakerheads, and cards. That was from our generation. This generation has got that fucking pickleball crap. I don't know what the fuck's going on with these folks in the damn pickleball. That I don't even know why they call it pickleball. It's foosball. It's paddleball. On a miniature life size tennis court. But they call it pickleball. Where the fuck does the pickles come from? They calling it pickleball. There's no pickle involved in the game, right? Now, the third thing you got to do is you need to master your emotional regulations. Now, this is going to be your quenching and tempering process. After the steel is heated, it has to be cooled in a very controlled way. And this is called quenching. It's cooling it too fast and it's going to become hard but incredibly brittle. So you don't want to do that. And cooling it too slowly is going to end up soft. So the art is in managing the process to get both hardness and toughness at the same time. Ladies, you want it hard and tough. This is going to be the perfect metaphor for a lot of things, but it's also going to be for handling your emotions. A stimulus hits when you get bad news. Someone cuts you off in traffic, an unexpected bill. That's going to be the heat. The fragile reaction is to respond instantly with panic, anger, or despair. That's like plunging the hot steel into ice water. It creates brittleness. A decision made in panic is almost always a bad decision. Emotional mastery is creating a space between that stimulus and your response. It's a controlled cooling scenario. It's not about suppressing your feelings. It's going to be about refusing to be hijacked by the raw, unfiltered version of your feelings. Oh, somebody disses your outfit. You're not going to curse him out in Austin 316 him. You're going to pause, think about it, you laugh a little bit, and not comment. That's not how we grew up, but that's the best way to de escalate the situation. The person you're talking to is not valuable enough to you to entertain their comment. It's consciously deciding to let the initial heat fade just enough so that you can act with clarity, not from a place of reactive fear. A powerful tool for this is going to be your breath. One of the most effective techniques is psychological size. This is something that research has shown to be rapidly calming for you. We have psychological, but we also have physiological size work as well. That's hard to do. How do you work there? Um, you and I came from a somewhat of a similar background where yeah, I got disrespected, somebody else got punched in the face. And I mean, disrespect could have been verbal disrespect, it could have stepped on my shoe. That didn't matter. But I learned a long time ago, I want to say about 20, 25 years ago, I learned that it takes way too much energy to do that. Now in 2026, everybody's waiting to pull out a video camera to record you acting irresponsibly, to record you acting immature, to record you doing something that devalues you as a person in society. So nowadays, more than anything, the first thing you need to do is take a breath. Look to your left, look to your right, take another breath. And why am I going to tell you that before I get on the exact process of taking a breath? The wisest man in the fight knows how many people is there, how many people's watching, and how many exits you have. So, in the moment that the person in front of you disrespects you, you have tunnel vision. You don't care who's around. You don't care what they're doing. Fuck them, they can watch. I'm gonna bust this guy's ass. All right. However, they say something slick. You take a breath. You're looking for witnesses over here. You're looking for witnesses over here, and you're looking for an exit. If there's too many witnesses in this area that could potentially contradict your freedom, it's not worth staying here. You're not just looking for people, you're looking for surveillance cameras to see if there's any around that could catch you if you decided to put a hole in this guy's skull. Now, in those dynamics where y'all are having a conversation that's a one-on-one conversation in an alley where there's no witnesses and no cameras, you might decide to Incredible Hulk this situation, but nobody will ever know. But in a crowded room, the first thing you're thinking is how many witnesses are nearby? How many people pull out their cell phones? How many video cameras are pointing at me? I should walk out of the room. Now, if you decide to catch them down the street where there's less, but you were able to proactively reconsider your situation by doing that. He says, when I grew up, if someone pulled out a camera, everyone would have thought they were the police and they would get quick issue. Now, 2026, you are 100% right. Yeah, back in our day, uh, like nobody had a camera. We had the Polaroids and shit. We didn't have we're going to record you, sonny. No, we didn't have all that. That was for family functions. So really, in back in our day, we didn't even have cell phones when we were growing up. So the shit went down. Nobody really knew. The only people that knew were the people that were there. And back then, yeah, everybody would talk about it, but the only people that would find out about it is the people that were the friends of the people who were there when they saw it. So unless you have a close knit school where everybody's telling everybody who's telling everybody, and both of y'all lost the fight because half of the people are going to talk about you won it, and the other half of the people are going to talk about the other guy won it, and they're just going to keep talking about how both of y'all got y'all ass whooped by the other person, so that y'all can go and fight again. But out of 300 kids in the school, no one's going to say, y'all shouldn't do that. That's what you're going to hear from the adults. You're not going to hear none of the other kids like, man, hey, let's just work this out. Right? I'll give you my fruit roll up. Let's just work this out. This is going to be the process that we're talking about right now. We're talking about a double inhale through your nose, followed by a long, slow exhale through your mouth. But even simpler, controlled breathing works wonders. When you feel the spike of anxiety or anger, that rush of heat, your only job is to create a 4 second pause. Don't act, don't speak, just breathe. Inhale slowly through your nose for 4 seconds, hold it, and exhale slowly through your mouth for six. And the reason why you're doing it in through your nose and out through your mouth, because if you do it in through your mouth, you might start hyperventilating. We don't want to do that. You do this twice, and this is a simple action that is like a psychological circuit breaker, engaging your body's natural braking system. It doesn't solve the external problem that is pissing you off, but it does give you your rational mind back. And now you have a chance to get back online and control this issue from a more mature fashion. It's the controlled cooling that stops you from making a brittle, fear based decision that could crack your life open. And why would we say that it's a fear based decision? I ain't afraid of shit. Wrong. You're afraid of being embarrassed. You're afraid of being judged. You're afraid of being criticized, which is why you're retaliating to the comments that are being said to you. Because while what they say doesn't physically injure you, it hurts your feelings. And you're going to retaliate on that. Now, the fourth thing, we're not even halfway through here. You're going to practice scenario planning. And this is going to be your stress test. Before a steel beam goes into the skyscraper, it's getting tested. Engineers hit it with way more force than it will ever face in the real world to understand its breaking point and to be sure of its integrity. They don't do this because they expect it to fall. They do it so that they know that it won't fall. And you need to do the same thing for your life. The glass life avoids thinking about negative outcomes. It magically thinks that if I don't think about it, it won't happen. And this leaves you completely unprepared, forced to improvise during a crisis when your brain is already overloaded instead of having the tools that you need to be successful. How many people have a first aid kit in their car? Most people don't. Shit happens. You're going to wish you did. Forging physiological steel means that you run drills. You mentally rehearse your response to plausible bad situations before they happen, and your responses need to be appropriately structured and semi professional responses. not dis responses, not disrespectful responses, not mic drop moment responses. This isn't about dwelling on negativity. It is about defanging the monster by looking it into the eyes. And it is about reducing the shock factor and preloading a plan so that you can see options when everyone else see is frozen panic. So here's an exercise. Once a quarter, block out an hour. Pick a plausible negative scenario. My biggest client just fired me. My car needs a $3,000 repair. A close family member has a health emergency. Now, write out your 72-hour response plan. Who are the first three people that I call? What is the very first financial action that I take? What's one thing that I can do immediately to stabilize the situation? And what's one thing that I can do to start moving forward? By running these mental drills, you're going to turn your terrifying unknown monster into a simple logistical problem. And you've already done the hard thinking while you were calm. So when the real shock comes, you're not starting from scratch. You're executing a plan like a Girl Scout. I should have said Boy Scout, but the Girl Scouts got more badges. You'll be the calmest person in the room, not because you're emotionless, but because you're prepared for this shit. It says, I learned the breathing through the nose in increasing nitric oxide in the blood allows Apache runners to escape the United States Army in Arizona and New Mexico during the Apache War. I mean, if you run fast enough, you can escape. We all seen Breaking Bad and Ozark. I mean, if you run fast enough, you can escape. Um, but it requires you to. A lot of people learn this when they're running track in high school. If you run fast enough, breathing through your nose and out through your mouth, you can find that you're going to move a lot faster than what you do when you breathe in and out through your mouth, where your esophagus gets cold and you start going hoarse. Now, these four practices, the radical ownership, voluntary hardship, emotional regulation, and scenario planning, are going to be the furnace hammer, the quenching bath, and the stress test. They're how you forge your mind into psychological steel. So if your mind is the furnace, your finances are the vault. And a fragile financial life is going to be a glass piggy bank. Might look full, but one tiny crack, unexpected bill, dip in your income, and the whole thing crumbles. Financial steel isn't about being rich, it's about being unbreakable. It's about building a system that absorbs shocks and gives you the freedom to act, not just react. And this also is going to have four forging processes. First, you build your buffer. Again, this is going to be the foundation of vaults. The most fundamental layer of financial steel is going to be the cash buffer, or what people call the emergency fund. I tell you about this all the time. This money is not an investment. You can live off of an investment as an emergency fund, but you have to acknowledge that if you advance pay your life 3 to 6 months down the line, the most of the things that you have going on in your life that might be an emergency could wait the couple of weeks that it takes for you to deposit cash into your account to spend it on the emergency. But when you start planning for other people's emergencies, they have been going through shit in secret until the shit hits the fan and exceeds their control. And then they bring you a conflict that has a time limit that is less than a couple of weeks. And that's why you need emergency cash, because it's not for your personal emergency problems. It's for you to Captain Save-A-Ho somebody else's emergency problems. That's what emergency funds are for. Because if you structuralize your life with preventative maintenance, there is absolutely nothing in life, including your death, that requires immediate reaction. Nothing. Your death takes 3 days for the birth certificate to be accessed. So the time it takes to resurrect Jesus, the time it takes for you to deposit the money for your brokerage account to your checking account. So there's no scenario in life that is an instantaneous, we got to fix this now. Because when people start throwing up, for instances, we're talking about impulse purchases. You didn't need to buy that today. Flash sales, which is triggering impulse purchases. You didn't need that either. And then anything that is a peer-to-peer discussion, where if you agree to invest now, it will save you a spot. You're going to get the money, right? But that's why I tell you guys this is going to be the investment. This is not going to be the investment. This is going to be money that's just there, just in case. And it's only got one job: to buy you time and options during a crisis. I mean, you could do the same thing with certain credit cards, but if you're revolving your bills through your credit cards, you need to have some cash on hand to cover the credit cards when the credit cards are due. But this is going to be the fund that's going to stop you from making a desperate decision like selling all of your stocks at the bottom of the market, or uh, racking up high interest debt on credit cards when you can't afford to pay the credit card back. The glass life is lived paycheck to paycheck with zero buffer between you and chaos or somebody else's chaos in a lot of situations. Every small gust of wind feels like a potential hurricane. The steel vault has a thick, heavy door. Your buffer is the door, and it's the sheer mass that absorbs the initial shock waves. So the contents inside don't even rattle. Many experts suggest a buffer of 3 to 6 months worth of essential living expenses. I recommend that you advance pay that 3 to 6 months of living expenses and buy you some extra groceries along the way so that you're prepared when shit hits the fan. Now, since the number can feel huge, let's start with something small. First milestone is going to be a crisis fund, maybe $1,000, $2,000 at the most. That amount alone is enough to keep most of life's little annoyances, like a flat tire, broken dishwasher, from turning into a full blown financial disaster. Now, of course, the exact number is personal, but if you have an unstable income or living in a high cost area, you might aim for more, but the principle is still going to be the same. The action here is simple: automated. Calculate 5% or 10% of your income and set it up for automatic transfer. And you want to transfer it to a separate high yield savings account the day that you get paid. Don't even let the money hit your mind or let it settle into your main checking account. You're forging the door to your vault, one steel plate at a time. Now we're halfway through, y'all. I want y'all to make sure to like and subscribe. We're gonna get through. This is a lot of information. I think we got where we're at 40 pages. We got 46 more pages left. I think we're gonna be another 50 minutes. So mash those reaction buttons while you're here, and we're gonna have some after show information and memberships as well. Now, the second thing you want to do is you want to diversify your income, and these are going to be the laminated layers. Single job is a single point of failure. It is the definition of financial fragility. No matter how secure you think your job is, you are one person and one decision or one market shift away from your income going to zero. So you want to think of Damascus steel, famous for its strength. It was made by folding and forging different types of steel together, creating thousands of layers. It's what we want for our income. Each new income stream you build is another layer in your financial armor. If a crack appears in one layer, the others hold the whole structure together. This doesn't mean that you need to go out and build a second business tomorrow. You just want to start small. The goal is to just provide the concept and prove that this can be done. What's one skill that you have that someone would pay for? Write down what it is, organize it, design, coach it, and then fix things. If these are the things that you got going on, writing, organizing, designing, coaching, fixing things, event planner, whatever it is, babysitter, dog sitter, cat sitter, adult sitter, wife sitter. I don't know. R. Kelly did a bad job with that one. Either way, go and create your profile on a freelance site. Take on one tiny project at a time, even if it's just for 50 bucks. The point isn't the money at first. The point is to prove to yourself that your main job is not your only source of value in the current world. Woo. And from there, you can explore the layers: dividend income, digital projects, rental income, affiliate marketing. The more independent layers that you have, the more your risk is spread out. And the harder your financial life is to break, the better things are for you. Third, you want to go to your engineer optionality. And this is the power pivot. The real purpose of the money isn't buying more stuff, it's buying more options. Optionality is the freedom to make choices, especially when you feel like your back is against the wall. A buffer and diverse income that you give uh, breathtaking room. Optionality is going to be what you do with the breath that you get from the diverse income. It's going to be the ability to say no to a toxic boss, the freedom to say yes to a risky but exciting opportunity, the capacity to move to a new city, or the ability to take 6 months off to learn a skill that could change your entire career. Glass is rigid. When force is applied, it only has one option, and that is to shatter. Steel is versatile. It can be rigid, it can be a beam, flexible spring, or a sharp blade. So, the final thing you want to think about in this section is optionality, which gives you your life that same versatility. You have the freedom to bend it a new shape, to pivot, to transform it instead of breaking under pressure. Now, the practical step here is to create what some people call a freedom fund or an opportunity fund. And no, it is not to get the edge spinning title and run it to your house with all those pyros, you know, with the money in the bank, trying to cash it in on your younger brother. That's not what this is about. This is separate from your emergency budget, your opportunity fund. The emergency fund is a defense, keeps the wolves away. The opportunity fund is for offense, lets you go out and hunt. You start finding this after your buffer is sold. So you want to fund this after your buffer is sold. And this is the cash that you use to take calculated risks, investing in a high value course, putting a down payment on a rental property, or seeding a side business are other ways to experience this. Now, this is the fund that turns unexpected shocks into game changing opportunities. Now, fourth, you can transfer catastrophic risks. These are going to be your external reinforcements. Even the strongest vault in the world has external safety systems, fire suppression, seismic dampeners, alarms. You wouldn't build $1 billion vault and then say, I'll just self insure against an earthquake. That would be insane. You transfer the risk to an insurance company. You need to do the same for your life. There's a certain risk. So that's going to be so huge that they can't vaporize even the best laid financial plans like a major health crisis or a long-term disability, massive lawsuit, premature death. These are going to be earthquakes. Trying to self-insure against these with savings alone is fragile. And that's going to be a game that you will eventually lose. Financial steal means intelligently transferring these catastrophic risks. And this is what insurance is for: health insurance, disability insurance, life insurance, and liability insurance, or umbrella insurance. Now, these aren't expensive, but they're investments in your own prominence. For most people, these are the critical reinforcements that ensures a single massive, low probability event, which uh, this can't wipe you out completely. Your actions this month is to schedule a 1 hour risk audit. Review your insurance policies. Is your health coverage adequate? If you got hurt and couldn't work for a year, how would your bills pay you for your standard of living? Is the disability coverage enough? Do you have enough liability coverage, or do you need an additional umbrella policy? You're not planning to fail, you're planning to prevent one point of failure from causing a total system collapse. Now, we're going to be about to dive into our third and final pillar. So if you're getting the value from this blueprint, if the idea of forging a life of steel is hitting home for you, you want to do me a quick favor and hit that like button. It is a small thing, but it tells you and it tells you too that being resilient in life is a conversation worth having. And it helps more people find the framework that they need to be successful. Okay. Crossing the threshold. Your body is a chassis. It's the physical structure that carries you through every single challenge and opportunity. A fragile approach treats your body like a glass statue, something to be preserved and used as little as possible for fear of breaking it. Or worse, it's ignored completely until the situation shatters. Steel chassis is different. It's built for performance, sure, but more importantly, it's built for recovery and adaptability. It's a system that can handle a heavy load and then bounce right back, ready for the next scenario. Forging this pillar comes down to three financial processes. First, you train for recovery, not just for performance. This is going to be about elasticity. A lot of people in the gym are just chasing peak performance. The heaviest lift, fastest mile, that's admirable, but it can also lead to fragility. An athlete who is always redlining is often just one injury away from being out for months. The most incredible property of steel isn't just its hardness, but its elastic limit, its ability to be uh, able to bend under a load and then snap right back to its original shape, which we didn't see on a Cybertruck, but that's what it's supposed to be. And this is the physical resilience. Your training should be designed to build this quietly. And this is going to mean that your mobility, flexibility, and active recovery, especially sleep, are not optional add ons to your real work. They are the training, and they are what builds your capacity to recover. Jesus. Now, a resilient body is going to be strong, yes, but it also has a full range of motion. It's metabolically flexible. It has the lowest rest heart rate and a high heart rate variability. Higher HRVs is generally a sign that your nervous system is more alphabetical and adaptable. Woo! And to better be at handling your stress. The goal isn't just to be strong for 1 hour in the gym, but to have an abundance of energy for all 16 or 17 hours that you're awake. That is a lot of to do. Um, One thing I want to do is I want to throw this in there for you guys for just a moment and take a sidestep and then pick this back up because we've got about 26 more pages left. So enjoy this one.
They say boundaries, I say expectations. Clear communication, no more hesitations. My life is a business, my mind is a CEO. Filtering out the noise, letting quality flow. Non-negotiable, that's how I live. No room for weakness, nothing to give. If you can match my energy, then you can stay. My standards are high, and that's just my way. Sophistication isn't just about how you dress. It's about the mindset, the internal success. Clean your environment, clean your mental state. Surrounding yourself with winners, that's how you navigate. Non-negotiable, that's how I live.
All right. Okay, I appreciate you with your patience with that short sabbatical. I had so much to drink, I had to make room for some more to drink. And like I told you, we had got the ginger ale. I'm trying to muscle through this one without caffeine. I'm trying to tell you. We went through a lot of stuff today. We had 2 hours and 38, 39 minutes. Jesus Christ. I told y'all 50. Yeah, it's more than 50. It's going to be probably another 40. Okay. Now let's start talking about the practical actions that is going to be the simple rules that you guys are going to start following. For every 60 minutes of intense hard exercise, schedule at least 15 minutes of dedicated recovery work. And this is going to be deep stretching, foam rolling, long walks, or just a session of deliberate deep breathing. And most importantly, you must start treating sleep not as a luxury, but as your single most important training session of the day. I know Michael and a lot of the old folks say, I sleep when I'm dead. He's almost ready for sleep. I'm 41. I gotta catch up on my sleep. So you want to aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. That's not video games and naps in between movies or anything like that. Like legitimate deep sleep. Turn off your alarm clocks kind of sleep. And this is when your body and your mind gets to repair, reinforce, and literally forge stronger stability for the upcoming day. Second, master the foundations. This is about the alloy's composition. The quality of any steel is determined by its alloy. the precise mix of iron, carbon, and other elements. Get the mix wrong, and the steel ends up brittle, soft, or rusty. The formula is going to be everything. Your body's alloy is made of three key elements: the quality of your sleep, quality of your nutrition, and the consistency of your movement. You can out train a terrible diet. You can't fuel a resilient body on processed junk and sugar. You can't have a clear mind without proper sleep. So, a glass life runs on convenience, fast foods instead of cooked foods, sugary drinks, minimal movement, late nights powered by caffeine, and doom scrolling. It's an alloy designed for fragility. Damn, that sounds like what we're doing right now. Forging a steel body means respecting the formula. This doesn't mean that you need to change everything overnight. That approach is fragile in and of itself and usually fails. Instead, you want to use the one thing rule. For 1 week, focus only on your sleep. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, every single day of the week. No screens an hour before bed. The next week, keep that sleep habit going and just add one more serving of vegetables to your day. The week after that, keep those two things happen and then add a 20-minute walk to it. You are slowly, deliberately, and permanently changing the composition of your alloy. If you've got a dog, makes it easier for you to do that walk because instead of taking your dog right outside to go to the bathroom nearby the house, you decide to take your dog 5 blocks down the street, see what's down the street. And 5 blocks down the street turns into a 30-minute walk. You're building unbreakable habits that compound over time into a body that's hard to break. Third thing you want to do is weaponize your focus. This is your cutting edge. And this final process connects our physical pillars right back to our psychological pillars. Why do we do all of this? Why bother with sleep, nutrition, and recovery? Yeah, for long term health. But in the short term, we do it because your physical health is what sharpens the edge of your mind. So imagine a blade forged from the world's finest steel. If that blade is dull, all its underlying strength is going to be useless. Whatever that blade could have done, it's not going to do it. It can't cut anything if it's not sharp. Your mind is that exact same blade. Your physical state is going to be that edge. When you're sleep deprived, poorly nourished, and sedentary, your mind is dull. You can't concentrate. Your creativity is shot. Your emotional regulation goes right out the window. You're trying to solve life's problems with a blunt instrument. And I know that we've seen gangs in New York, it doesn't end well. A steel life recognizes that attention and focus are your most valuable assets in a distracted world. And the bedrock of that focus is physical energy. So when your body is running optimally, your mind becomes sharp. You can do deep work for your longer uh, expectations if you handle your preparation phase better. You can solve complex problems more easily. You have the mentality and the mental horsepower to actually execute all of the strategies that we talked about in the first pillar. You actually have the ability to put all of this stuff into action the same day. But one of the problems we have with that is that overloading yourself with a bunch of new things at the same time, you typically find yourself experiencing psychological and sometimes emotional burnout, where once you feel burned out, you actually shut down doing more things than what you actually was doing in the first place, where you find yourself doing even less. You wonder why you stopped walking. You wonder why you stopped eating healthy. You wonder why you stopped going to bed early, because you have done so many things in life that even the prime things that make you function, you stop doing that too because your body's tired. You need a rest. The most powerful action that you can take is to implement a digital sunset. For the last 60 to 90 minutes of your day, put all the screens away. No phone, no TV, no laptop. No blue light from the screens that is known to suppress melatonin. I know y'all didn't know that. The blue lights from the screen, and you can't even see the blue light, but the light that's coming from the screen is a blue light. It's not the because if you put the light sensitivity light on, it's a tan looking light. It looks weird, but it's supposed to be the one that's better for your eyes, but it actually doesn't feel better for your eyes. But it actually is. The blue light suppresses melatonin. And that's going to be the light that's coming from the retina display on your laptop, the light that's coming from my webcam, the light that comes from your cell phone, the light that comes from your TV, your smart TV. Actually, if not a blue light, I got a white light coming from the projector in the bedroom. That turn all that shit off. It can mess with your sleep. You notice something when you leave those lights on in the room, in order for you to really get sleep, you actually turn away from it and cover your face to shield your face away from the light so that you can get some sleep and use that as a background noise. But you also know that if you got that going on as a background noise, you can't hear what's going on in your house. So somebody could break in your house and you never know it. You notice how all of the scary movies that we watch, the person in the house sleep gets killed where? In front that noisy ass TV. Not a nail nutter got snatched up in bed in the quietest son of a bitch house. Never happened. They hear that and they, what was that? They wake up. But everybody that's got the music playing in the house, they've got the TVs blaring in the house, and they're going to sleep through that noise. They don't hear when somebody else lets themselves in. It's not just the light though. The constant stream of information and emotional stimulation keeps your brain wired when it should be winding down. You're listening to your favorite TV show on your way to bed. You're interested in this topic. You're going to want to keep going back and looking at what was said and what was done and what was heard. You're listening to your favorite song. You want to keep listening to your favorite song. That interferes with your ability to shut down. So you have to shut everything down around you so that your body has the ability to wind down. And then you want to use this time to quiet your mind. Now, I know it's going to be hard to do, restless thinkers, but read a book. Write down what's going through your mind. Journal this shit so that you can get it off of your chest without actually having to say anything. Stretch or just talk to the people that you live with in the house. Try not to turn that into an all night conversation, though. This one habit protects your sleep, which fuels your energy, which sharpens your focus. I'm also going to tell you one thing that's actually very beneficial for you psychologically is that you don't want to spend all day and all night in bed. When you wake up, get your ass out of bed and find a reason to leave the bedroom in and of itself and go sit somewhere else in the house. And don't return to bed until sleep is the goal, right? Which will aid you in your ability to get sleep because psychologically, I'm going to sleep should apply only when I'm going to bed. I'm going to lay here and watch TV should not be your mentality. You do that shit on a couch, right? This creates a powerful, virtuous cycle of resilience. So, 3 hours down the line, we have all three pillars: um, psychological steel, financial steel, physical steel, but they don't work in a vacuum. A house with strong walls but rotten foundation is still going to collapse. The real power of the blueprint is how these systems lock together and reinforce each other. Is what you might call the growth paradox. The defensive structure that you build to protect yourself are the very same structures that unlock your ability to chase a life of growth and opportunity. So think about it: the financial steel that you forge, that emergency fund, and extra income. This is what gives you the psychological breathing room to take a risk financially. You can afford to leave a toxic job or start a business precisely because you have the buffer to cover the cost. Your financial defense enables your professional offense. The physical steel, you forge this one: your energy and your focus. This is the power source for everything else. You can't embrace voluntary hardship or learn a new skill to create another income stream if you're constantly exhausted and foggy headed. Your physical resilience fuels your psychological and financial resilience. And the psychological steel that you forge, which is your anti fragile mindset, is what lets you see a market crash not as a catastrophe, but as a financial opportunity. It's what allows you to see getting laid off not as a personal failure, but as a forced pivot onto a much better path. So let's put it to practice. Imagine two people: Jane Glass, Jane Steele. They both work at the same company and both get laid off in a surprising restructure. Jane Glass shatters. Her entire identity was tied to her job. She has no emergency savings, so instant panic sets in. The stress is so overwhelming, she gets sick. Her sleep goes out the window, and she can't think clear enough to even update her resume. She's trapped in a downward spiral of fear and paralysis. Jane Steele bends a little bit. She doesn't break, though. The layoff is a shock, a huge stressor, but her training kicks in. Her first thought isn't why me, but why now? The psychological furnace roars to life. Her financial vault holds. The 6 month buffer means there's no immediate panic. She has some time to think. Her small freelance side hustles, her laminated layer covers for her basic utility bills, right? Which is going to give her a sense of control. Her physical chassis is going to be strong. She keeps up with her workouts and protects her sleep because she knows her energy and clarity are her greatest assets right now. For Jane Steele, the shock of the layoff becomes a catalyst. It's clear the path for her to pursue a better opportunity is already been thinking about months ago, something that's been lingering that she's never taken action on. But because she no longer has a job, she no longer has a reason to not take action on it. The shock didn't break her, liberated her. So that's going to be your blueprint. I know it took us like 3 hours of some change and a commercial in order to get through it. We've talked about forging psychological steel through ownership, voluntary hardships, emotional regulations, and scenario planning. We've covered financial steel with buffers, diversification, optionality, and risk transfers. And we've covered physical steel by training for recovery, mastering the foundations, and weaponizing our focus. But look, This isn't a one-time fix. It's not a checklist that you finish and forget. It is a lifelong practice of forging. Every hard workout that you finish, every dollar that you save, every time that you pause before reacting, every good night's sleep that you get, every one of these is another blow of that hammer, another minute in the furnace, and another fold in the steel. A life of glass is lived in constant low grade fear of the next crack. It's a life of anxiety and avoidance. A life of steel is lived with a quiet confidence that you can handle the impact, not that the impacts won't come, because they will, but you will have the strength to withstand them, the elasticity to bend and snap back, and the anti fragile mindset to maybe even use their energy to become something greater than you were before. The blueprint is yours. The forge is ready. And what you've got to do now is go and build it. Now, if the blueprint resonated with you, you've hung out with me for the last 4 hours. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you subscribe and turn on those notification buttons, because our next conversation will be about applying these principles directly to building an anti fragile career in an age of uncertainty. And before you guys go, I want to make sure that you guys have the opportunity to leave some comments with a small piece of steel that you're going to commit to forging this week, because it would be very interesting to know where you guys decide to make changes as improvements as life goes on. Now, I got to tell you, I thought it was going to be long. I didn't think it was going to be that long. When I crunch out this research, I'm like, man, they're going to love this. And then somehow I get into a strawman topic that's like 5 hours later. But I love it. I love it. I enjoy this. And what I enjoy better is the fact that I have the financial freedom to not have a limit to what I do. And I gotta call it quits sometimes, but a lot of the times it's like I finish when I finish. And that's one of the parts of working for yourself that you find very liberating. So I'm almost a byproduct of exactly everything I've been telling. I had a job I didn't like several years ago before I started this podcast. And even though I was the most effective person in the company, they actually relocated me so that I could start up another flagship store for them. And yet and still they didn't show me the appreciation that I needed. And I ended up quitting the job. They gave me an opportunity to reassess my situation. And I took that opportunity, and now I work for myself. Not everybody does this. A lot of people try, and I still get calls from people, hey, do you want to work remotely? No, I already work remotely for myself. This is how I make money for me. So, it prevents, because a lot of other people go and work for somebody else, and you're still in that same rut. You still have performance requirements, you still have set schedules, you still have to be at a specific place at a specific time, doing specific quantities of work. There is no um there's no salvation for you in that stuff. So I want you guys to really take the time to really think about what we talked about today, and really think about how you're going to apply that, because it is true. Once we reinforce our abilities to be more successful, we'll find ourselves more successful. Now, how successful is more successful? That really depends on the person, the effort, and the timeline. But that's all I got for you guys for today. I'm going to start by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you, ladies, to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give you this information to make you guys higher value men, not just by increasing your financial skills, but also by improving your decision making skills. Your personal decision making skills directly impacts your finances. I want you guys to make sure that you take the time to Focus on the things that are inside of your control, and then change the things that you don't like. And that gives you the capabilities to navigate around the things that are outside of your control. Ladies, well, this is a male driven podcast from the male's perspective. You too can make yourselves higher value women by prioritizing your 20 and 30-year plans. Reverse engineering, that's what you have to do today to accomplish it. And then keep your eyes and ears open for the potential suitor with the right personality characteristics, drive, ambition, dedication, motivation, inspiration, and integrity to accomplish their own goals. When you pay attention to their goals and see how their goals mesh well with your goals, you can determine while y'all don't need to have the exact same goals, that your goals are headed in the same direction of long term satisfaction. As long as you both are headed towards long term satisfaction and not short term gratification, you guys will be successful together and be able to accomplish each other's goals a whole lot faster. And I tell you guys every night of the week that two people can make it to $1 million faster than one. It just requires both of you to be motivated and dedicated to accomplish similar goals. Now, I want to thank you guys again. I want to give special shout outs to FX Trader, Omni81, Danny Steffen, Michael, Steven, OG Kicks. I really appreciate y'all for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Andrew, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground.